baby, baby.
Whoa.
Hey, baby, baby.
Hello.
We are live. We are live here on UltraLoop. Hey, da-ding. We need a little da-ding noise when the stream starts.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Yeah.
We need a little door ding-a-ling.
A little unlocking sound.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Ding.
Welcome to the video store, y'all. A few points of order to get out of the way at the top of every stream. One is getting this window off of my face so I don't see my own face. Okay. One is you are now in a video store. I am one of your clerks / hosts, Adam Protextor.
And I am Stephanie Thoreson, your co-host and other video store employee.
And this video store is owned by UltraLoop. Well, no, we own it, but it's on UltraLoop property. You're watching an UltraLoop show. UltraLoop is us. It is Kenna Benefield, Keelan Haynes, Colt Joyce, and Alon Rachowski. Alon and Keelan have been doing a lot of horror game streaming this week. Mm-hmm. So hope you've caught some of those streams. Subscribe, thank you. Yes. What else? Subscribe, and if you're Prime, Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription. Mm-hmm. And the goal of this show is to, as always, here's the spiel. I think it's getting tighter every week that I say it, but in a world where we all miss seeing... In a world.
See? You do that better.
In a world. It was like a running gag in
a world. I can't. I don't have it low enough.
You have to talk deep in your chest.
What if I hold my note?
It's about making your canal...
In a world.
No, that'll make you higher pitched. Make it wide. That's how I do the Satan voice. Make your...
In a world. You're like kind of tucking your, like, you have to let a lot of air in.
I'll just do it like I would as me. In a world.
In a world where we all miss seeing each other in real life. I miss the video store. A lot of us, depending on where you are in the country, probably were missing video stores a lot longer than just recently. But if you're in Austin, you know that we lost our two pillars, Vulcan and I Love, this year. So, for that reason, for the reason of just missing hanging out with friends, to give us something to do, to get our minds off of this crazy falling apart at the edges world, for many reasons, we now have this digital video store experience. This is week 6 or 7 of us doing this?
Yeah, I think it's like the 5th week of me
and you joining on 3rd week.
Yeah, so I think it's like
episode 7. Nice. Well, this has been a real high point. This is what I look forward to every week. So what do we do here? Well, it's a video store, so we're hanging out at the counter here. We're the clerks. And I'm seeing on the screen I just added these Instagram tags for Flock of Schmeagles, which is Steph, and then me. That's where you can follow us on Instagram because we do post about the show and do updates there. We'll start doing giveaways there as we grow. But basically what we do here is we hang out. We talk about movies. If you're in the chat, get in the chat and say hi to us.
I said it.
Like Stephanie did. Hi, y'all. Hi, Stephanie Michelle. And basically we trade ideas. We cannot find my words tonight. We trade ideas. We talk about movies. And we have a good time. We generally go through the show in 3 sections. The first is, what did you watch? We talk about what we watched this week. What did you watch this week? This is our hangout, share recommendations, and talk about what we watched. This is how we start things off. Mm-hmm. After that, we get new arrivals where we unbox or open or just look at any cool things that came in the mail. Look at it.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Would you take a look at that?
I thought it was cool. And it came in the mail within the past 6 business days. And then the 3rd section is Movie Club. That's kind of our anchor for the show. We'll be there the longest. Movie Club is where we invite you to watch the same thing as us and talk about it with us like a book club.
Y'all, I'm so sorry. That is the count 'em 3rd yawn since we started the stream like 5 minutes ago.
We're all exhausted and emotionally exhausted.
Also, I keep realizing this is in the frame and we are not sponsored by
No,
TKO.
turn the logo away.
Sorry, y'all.
No, hello.
It is my sparkly lemon lamb water.
Hello, UltraLoop. Hello, Wedge. Good to have y'all here.
Hello.
And yeah, our movie club of the week. This week was Blair Witch Project. Here, I did this nifty little thing here. Blair Witch Project. And
woo!
yeah, I know, right? Was it a thrill?
Man, that was
later tonight.
exciting.
If you watch Blair Witch Project like we did, we watched Blair Witch Project. Then you're gonna join us in talking about it. And the theme of the week, which we've been doing in October, the month of spookies, is 90's week. So. Later tonight, we'll be getting into. I thought you were like, shut up. You were like, look at my boobs.
No,
I was like, I don't know where the stream's going tonight.
my get spooky.
Get spooky. Now I see it. Now I regret it. So yeah, if you watch 90's movies with us, boy, do we have about 1,000,001 things to say. I drew a graph to express some of my thoughts. It got real last night. Y'all, this has been like being back in school. I seriously have been staying up late taking notes. I really can't wait to dive into this shit. 90's.
I'm excited because
I'm excited.
I haven't seen it. I haven't heard it. We try to do our best to not even really talk about the movies too much after we watch them. We'll say it to each other post viewing. We'll say save it for the stream.
Save it for the stream.
Save it for the stream. So I haven't seen this, much like last week. I hadn't gone on my second wave feminism rant until the stream. I haven't seen any of this. I can see colors and shapes.
I used colors and shapes.
And I'm very excited to understand what the colors and shapes mean. But, we try to save it for the stream.
Well, we do. We save it for the stream. # save it for the stream.
Mm-hmm.
And last week, if you want to catch Stephanie's spiel TED Talk, I should say, on second wave feminism,
if you will.
UTT on second wave feminism and the rise of the specifically Friday the 13th franchise in the slasher genre. Check out our highlights. Pathos was kind enough to clip it out for us so you can see a part of that and get a little taste. See what it tastes like. What? It's from Nacho Libre.
See what it tastes like.
See what it tastes like. We stand Nacho Libre in this household. All right, so where do we start? What did you watch this week? Well, we know what we watched this week. We watched a bunch of 90's movies.
We did. Well, here's the thing is we had a little discussion about, we're kind of rolling in the carpet on theme weeks. And while they have been super duper fun, this one in particular was one we were like, oh my God, we could go in so many different directions.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many options, and just feeling like not enough hours in the day.
For 90's?
For 90's.
I mean, it's a whole decade.
Yeah. So, we're excited to hear what you watched, and to see if any of that lines up with what we watched and how those, if there are more obscure things or more iconic things. So we ended up watching 7 movies together, and I think Adam watched an additional 5 by himself, which he usually stays up a little later than me and watches
too late, y'all.
A small handful of movies more than I do per week. But it was at once exhilarating and frustrating to do a deep dive into this 90's grab bag.
You're right. More than ever, in these unprecedented times.
In a world.
Good callback. We, in this world, in this house, that's my callback.
Yeah.
We, in this country, as Jack Nicholson in The Departed, we got more frustrated than before.
That was the rat from The Departed.
Same rat as in Endgame, Avengers Endgame, y'all. Oh boy. Okay, so, God, my brain, I feel so scatterbrained tonight. It's something cloudy's in the air. Yes, more than ever, we were very frustrated with the amount of movies that we had to choose from and narrowing it down and how hard that was. We'll get to that in a little bit. But whether or not you watch 90's movies, what did you watch? What did you watch in this country? Wedge knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, what did you all watch? We only watched one non-90's movie, one non-90's non-horror movie.
Oh, I was like, where was it? And then I was like, oh, duh.
We only watched one, so that's why I feel like this section, I want to put it on the chat a little more.
Yeah.
I want to hear what people watched. I know Vineet rented a bunch. So yes, if you're just joining us, you are in a video store. We want to know what you watched this week.
What movies on our theme? Who cares? Throw the theme out the window. Just you know,
take it back out of the window if you want.
Pick it up off the ground.
Our theme was 90s horror. We watched a lot, and there's a lot of 90s horror to get to, and we'll get to that later. But for now, okay, well, I feel like while we give people a chance to share, and it could be anything you watch, it doesn't have to be a movie. Mm-hmm. We watched, very nice. Mm-hmm. We watched Borat, subsequent movie film. My wife. We can do that we're gonna do a lot of that tonight. Mm-hmm.
No, I think people did enough of that in
2006. I think it's ready for a comeback. The zeitgeist cycles are tightening up. Okay, I will just say I absolutely adored this movie. I laughed in a way that hurt. It probably is the hardest I've laughed at anything for a good long while. We watched it immediately after the presidential debate. And so for me, it was like this splash of absurdism in the face that very much helped temper a very stressful night.
Yeah, I think we enjoyed this film in two very different ways. While Adam was sort of guffawing, I was very stoic through most of the movie. I think I chuckled a couple of times.
You just don't laugh out loud that much at movies.
Well, no, I do.
Do you?
I do. I just feel like with this particular brand of political satire, my wheels are just like taking it in, and I might go,
yeah. It's about what you do. I was in stitches. My sides hurt.
You were laughing loud.
I loved it. Yes, we're talking about. Holdenwook said, "Are we talking about Borat?" Yes, we're talking about Borat. By the way, Holdenwook, your sweater is on the way. I'm mailing it tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you missed last week, we did a giveaway.
We did a giveaway that I'm gonna ship priority to try and get it to you for Halloween. What Wedge said, hand was definitely over his mouth for 2/3 of the movie. Also, I do want to, after we talk about Borat, I do want to get back to DMT's picks here. DMT the realist in the chat. What's up, DMT? Midsummer and Constantine.
Ooh.
So, really quick, on the note of theme weeks, we've done a theme every week. Like Stephanie said, this week felt the heaviest, or rather like the biggest coursework, rather, because it was like, oh my god, so much
to choose from.
Right, so many different little pockets and subgenres that really were. Anyway, we'll get to it. We thought, now originally we were going to do this week as our holiday horror theme week, but the more we thought about it, we were like, that's up to Halloween, and we felt a little boxed in by our themes because we just want everyone to explore whatever the hell. We're not, we don't want any assigned work for a holiday week. So we're going to watch just kind of a themeless, we'll get to it later. But anyway, the holiday horror will be the week after next, and DMT, I have a point, I swear. Midsummer, we will be watching, I haven't seen it, you haven't seen it, right? So Midsummer, we are going to be watching in a week and a half for the stream, 2 weeks from tonight. So we'll get to some Midsummer territory, I'm sure. Just want to throw that out there. Okay. DMT said exposing racism is important. I don't care how you expose it. It ended up being really pertinent. I agree. Like, I feel like I read someone say, and this is a thing I've read a lot of people say, maybe I read you say it, I don't know, that he sets up, he provides the setup, but he lets his scene partner deliver the punchline.
100%. And I think that is the precise reason why I'm not one to be like LOLing at that type of movie. I just feel like I'm taking in the absurdity, I'm taking in the information, but I also feel like kind of sad.
Yeah, well, don't
for the person.
You
not for
laugh
the
through the tears. No, I mean, like, I don't. But yeah,
I'm
I don't really.
Feeling like, oh,
you feel sad for the state of things.
Yeah,
That's like,
well, I mean, it's just a lot of complicated, conflicting emotions. Because like, I want to laugh. I want to cry. I want to scream. I want, it evokes a lot of emotions for me, not just like, robust laughter.
Right. I mean, for me, it's an escape. I feel like that's the purpose of it. I have definitely already seen it compared to like Chaplin's The Great Dictator. That's a big blind spot for me. I haven't seen it. But I do know that things like Chaplin's The Great Dictator or like I mentioned this to you after we watched it. The Superman 1931 serial. Look this up. It's a fascinating story. There's a really great piece about it. It's probably the same one I read. Maybe from NPR. I don't know. It's a few years old now, but look this up. It's fascinating. The story of how Superman helped defeat the KKK. Because the KKK was kind of, doing what a lot of white supremacist groups are doing now, which is cloaking themselves in this air of normalcy. Superman was incredibly popular. The radio serial was the most popular radio serial before TV. This is what the kids tuned into. They just did a 3-episode arc. Again, look this up. Check me on the details here, but here's what the gist. In which Superman referred to the KKK as cowards and shut them down, and like enrollment plummeted. Like overnight, it went from being this like fringe political group to like a shameful thing because of that. And Chaplin helped turn people against Hitler because, I mean, I know that I'm preaching the choir for a lot of this, but like Hitler did not begin as the Hitler we remember, and Chaplin helped turn the tide against this guy who everyone just thought was a crazy politician. Similarly, and obviously I've made my point. I've talked too much about it, but that's how I feel is there.
Yeah.
So I'm just ranting, trying to put it in some historical context.
No, of course. And, I think that...
I love that thing.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you, Holdenwood.
I think that the choice to do like a surprise... Ba-blam!
Ba-blam?
Like they dropped the film early.
Oh, that was so... Oh, my God.
That was like, mwah.
Did y'all know that?
The timing. So smart.
I read it on Twitter. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put 2 and 2 together.
Well, I thought it was particularly effective because of the way the second debate went, and it was sort of like it was just a roller coaster. If you can't tell, I'm out of it today.
Well, I feel like you're also just really like, I mean, as most I would say people are, but I don't know, whatever. I'm not gonna pretend I know that. I think that I do know you, and I do know that you're very invested in these things, and also, I think I definitely like. I mean, first of all, I have privileges that you don't, like straight cis white man,
and I have privileges that are my own privileges.
Right, of course you do, but I'm saying in relation, I think that sometimes, to be frank, I think it's easier for me to access this stuff and to laugh at Borat. I think that I definitely have seen, like, we're both reading the same news, but I can see the toll it takes on you is different than me, and yeah. I know that that continues past you and I, but in this household I see it, so I understand, but like I have to wonder then on top of that, if we do want to talk about the movie, I have to wonder, do you feel catharsis through things? Did you feel catharsis watching Borat, or did it feel supplementary? For me, it helped me remove some negativity through laughter, and I'm wondering, does it do that for you? Or does it just feel like it kind of just also exists next to everything else?
I would say it's like a 70-30. 30% catharsis, 70% just kind of existing in the cloud of everything else in my mind.
Yeah.
But holding a slightly different space. Not necessarily catharsis, but more of like, I don't know. It's weird to say that it's something akin to hope.
Did it feel like a release? Because
it's a little
I
bit
think
of a release.
I don't think that's weird at all. I think hope.
Right.
Maybe I'm being naive by referring to it as cathartic and release. Sure, laughter is that, but that's like I'm just saying what laughter is. Do you? And that's maybe why I asked you that, because you didn't laugh as much.
Yeah.
But hope is also laughter. Hope is like the quiet version of laughter.
Well, that's why I'm just sort of like quietly going.
Like hold this.
That's how I am next to you when you're like I'm just like.
You're holding that burning inside.
Well, it's the same thing of like how we've been talking all throughout all of October, really, of how things like slasher films that are very personally violent are much harder for me to watch. It's the same kind of thing, just a different.
Borat is a horror movie. We were joking.
Yeah, yeah. But it's, you know, in the same way that we talk about, like...
Yeah. Dab, 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 super dab. Thank you. Great job, nerds.
Yee!
Also, we just... Holdenwook was just very what the fuck. Yes, I mean, I agree. I think that's like the... I mean, whatever. What are we gonna say about Sacha Baron Cohen's comedy that hasn't been said? Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, he's maybe like one of the most celebrated living comedians.
Yeah.
And he's weirdly remained fringe. Like, he.
Sorry, I just had a thought.
I know. He doesn't. Whenever we think of like our most cherished, beloved comedians, I think we often go to SNL cast members. Like I'm thinking like Steve Martin, Chris Farley. But people like Sacha Baron Cohen who kind of just do their own thing and act and then have their own.
He's incredible.
Anyway. I did want to say real quick before we keep going down this. DMT was asking, what did we think about the Giuliani part? Like, do we? DMT says he was getting his engines ready. In my opinion, I agree.
I agree too.
Absolutely,
100%. And that was like so. That scene was so... I'm like, I don't know any other way to say it than fucking nasty to me. I was like so grossed out. Again, it's a horror movie. For me, I was like, oh, here come like watching through the fingers. Like, I fucking hate this shit.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the thing. And I've always loved Sacha Baron Cohen. Like, I watched
No, not those films. I'm saying men like that.
Oh,
men
yeah,
like
I get you. I thought
like
you meant
Predators.
Yeah.
Let's set the record straight here.
Well,
that's what I'm talking about.
Big ups to like huge respect to Maria Bakalova.
Oh, I know.
The Bulgarian actress who played his daughter. And I read an interview that I read the transcript of a Good Morning America interview, where she said that he said that in his capacity as producer of the movie felt like he had to go into the room to protect her, and she did feel uncomfortable. So
she was so amazing throughout the entire film, just in general, like the ability to be in the moment, roll with the punches, and not break.
Right.
Ever? No,
that's the my favorite SBC story about never breaking.
Yes.
But real quick, first of all, clarifying that Holdenwook was talking about the Giuliani scene as the WTF. Absolutely. You've got some cosigns on the nastiness.
Yeah, nasty with a G.
She was fearless.
So, yeah.
And DMT was saying, yeah, it's something he's done multiple times but never been filmed.
Is that true? Watch
Absolutely.
Oh, no, not what DMT said. Well, I think we all know what that reminds us of. But
oh, and they interviewed 500 actors for the role?
That's why I went, whoa.
That's
so I wasn't trying to
No,
gloss over
no.
Going down the chat that just popped up right now.
Let me up the font size.
I
on
wear
this
my
bad
glasses
boy.
tonight.
Here we go. Font size upped. She was incredible, and it is that commitment. Okay, can I tell my favorite SBC story?
Yeah.
Other than his incredible acceptance with the Charlie Chaplin routine,
yeah.
that speech. It's when he was filming the Ali G show, season 1 or 2. It's on the DVD. You can watch it. It's the extended cut of when he goes to the wine tasting, and he really does drink like 2 or 3 bottles of wine. And gets blitzed and falls asleep, passes out, I should say, in the bathroom, vomiting red wine. And he wakes up in character and goes, "More wine." That's like, if you can command your body to truly transform like that, because there's certain instances where if he drops character, he's gonna get his ass kicked. Also, you have to be. Oh, I gotta actually watch it then.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, and of course, so I got in not trouble, but I was a bit annoyed this week because I really think this movie is like a high point of modern comedy, and I adored it. And I texted my family thread that they should watch it, and my mom and dad. Now, my mom is super progressive, and my brother and I are both old poli-sci students, and my dad is the black sheep of our family. Because he's like a moderate Fox News watcher. He's gotten a lot better because of the war of attrition that me, my mother, and my brother have waged on him for nearly 20 years. So he's gotten a lot better, but I still get mad at him about a lot of stuff, and I still think he consumes some stupid things. So I recommended this movie to them, and my brother later told my mom that I surely didn't mean to recommend it because it was too crude and too political. And I was like, dang, because they said they were going to watch it. I almost snuck it in. I just wanted him to see that Giuliani scene so bad. And also, my parents are not people who can't handle crude comedy. You know, I watched American Pie with them when I was 11. I think they can handle Borat too.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant about how I almost got my conservative dad in the midst of this election season to watch that damn movie.
Yeah.
But my mom asked us to text her the Giuliani scene, so we'll do that.
Yeah. That's good. I mean,
Hope none of them are watching.
The thing is that I feel like, well, okay, I had a thought earlier, which I want to make sure that I don't forget.
Don't forget it.
I feel, I do want to say, just to be totally transparent, that I do think that the Giuliani scene was edited in a way that exacerbates the moment, or that frames it in a way that's easily digestible. In no way do I think that takes away from what actually is happening there, or the fact that that's the truth of what's happening there. The only reason I say that is because that's a lot of what we're hearing. The counter argument,
of course,
is that, well, do you see that this part you can't see his mouth moving, and it could be dubbed over from another part of the interview and all this. But I think it was DMT Realist who said, like, he was getting ready or something.
Getting his engine ready. Okay. It doesn't matter which way you splice that footage. He was getting his engine ready. Yeah. I mean, I think you make a good point. Even if you just see the way he touches her hip when he's sitting on the bed and she's leaning over, you can't. Like, I think the thing is, like, and forgive me, I'm going to speak on behalf of a lot of people here, so you tell me if I'm wrong. But my interpretation of this was there's a big debate going on among everyone who's not a woman about this. And women saw it and knew. Yes, and that leads me perfectly into the point that I didn't want to forget to bring up. The thing that occurred to me is part of the reason why maybe I'm not as ready to so freely laugh at content like this, at films like this, at satire like this, is not only because maybe we have different levels of privilege, and certainly I have plenty of my own privilege, but we also have different life experiences and whatever. Kind of thinking about things like that, one of the things I hate so much is when men who really have nothing to worry about, I'm not talking about you. Not me though, right? But not me though, right? Because I know men who aren't that way. Yes. Including me. Right. Look at me. It's not me. Go on. So, men who, like, really don't have anything to... And I don't know anyone's life. I keep feeling the need to qualify everything. Don't qualify. Right now. I'm just doing this for later. Not right in front of you, though, while you're talking about... Here, let me move him. So I get really annoyed when men who maybe don't understand the depths of the truths being revealed through the vessel of comedy and satire laugh out loud because they think something is dumb or funny or crazy or wild or however they see it, and they miss the point. They miss the bigger picture or the deeper meaning behind the comedy. And I think that's another reason why I just feel very introspective when I'm consuming comedy like that. I just feel like I want to see it like a piece of artwork, like a piece of political satire. I want to take it seriously, right, while also appreciating the humor. And I feel like a lot of people, and I hate to say that it's a lot of white dudes, watch stuff like that and they just, like, can't hold their shit together. And I'm like, are you... Do you mean, like, it's just going over their head? Yeah, like the deeper meaning or the deeper purpose. It sounds like you have the same frustration with dumb white dudes boorishly consuming parody as I do with conservatives who enjoy Captain America movies.
Yeah, that's a pretty good.
I'm like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Or like right wingers who love Star Wars. Like, you're the bad guy in this movie.
Yeah. Exactly.
Tony G. Witt says woman's POV, which we're gonna get a title card that comes up that goes woman's POV.
In a world where I'm a woman on a stream. On a stream.
On Twitch. A scary place for women. Holden Wook wrote, when he asked her to write down her address and number, big yikes, he went full Weinstein. Which, by the way, we're going to talk about Harvey later tonight.
We call him Harvey?
No, I shouldn't have said that.
Don't say that.
Didn't feel right when it came out. It's because I was talking about Harvey Weinstein producing one of the first movies of the 90s that started his career. That unfortunately is a good movie.
Unfortunately, it's a good movie.
DMT might be important for all conservatives on the fence to see. I totally agree.
Yes, but unfortunately, many of them won't watch it.
They won't watch it because they've been told that it's stupid and crude and gross.
Exactly.
What else did y'all watch?
Yeah, we just talked about Borat 2 for like 20 minutes. So.
I think it probably deserves even more time than that, but do y'all have a favorite part of Borat 2? Did you enjoy one part in particular? I really loved that it just got everything out of the way right up top. I loved that the first line of the movie was, Yekshimesh, my wife, very nice. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought that was very funny. And
yeah,
I honestly
just doing the fan service, like, and we got that out of the way, and that out of the way, and okay, now we can all relax and watch the movie.
Mm-hmm. The first thing that made me laugh about it was the rating card that came up and said not suitable for children under 3 years old.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't, feel free to chime in. Again, this stream is like casual as it gets. Feel free to jump in at any point. But
great job, nerds. The scene
yes.
at the synagogue.
First of all, him in that ridiculous getup was just absurd enough. But oh my God, they were so kind. That one woman was so kind and wonderful.
Right, and what I think that was the scene where I was like, please take note that the Jewish woman and the black woman are the only
two good people in the movie
who like have brains and hearts and like fucking getting shit done and actually taking care of people. They were
those two people are like the heart of the movie. Also, speaking of the heart of the movie, I do want to also say there's a really good just like father-daughter, fucked up as it is, story at play here.
Chilly.
That he feels like he does this in all his things, and I think it's a kind of a Chaplin sort of like kid sort of thing where it's all strung together with heart. Bruno does it too. Bruno has a
that woman's family is suing him.
Oh my God! And she has a dedication and credits, so it thinks she passed away. That woman's family is suing him. Wow. Well,
the woman from the synagogue?
Yeah, I guess so. And those QAnon guys, yeah. That was amazing. But I feel like... Okay. Will knows this. That lawsuit was dropped. Okay. Maybe it was just out of context. Maybe there was such secrecy. I don't know. I'd love to know more after the movie came out. That makes sense. Okay, so Will knows this. I'm going to share something. When I was in high school, I made a short 20-minute documentary called God Hates F Words. And at the time, we were quoting The Sign. I don't love saying that movie by its title anymore. It was 2004. Anyway, it was a documentary on the Westboro Baptist Church, the notoriously homophobic church from Topeka, Kansas. They came to Iowa City, Iowa, where I went to high school. And I just learned about them on this Michael Moore show called The Awful Truth. So I learned in second period that they were in town. Me and my buddy Nikki went downtown to the protest and filmed them. And afterwards, we were like 18 and 17. So we left that weekend and followed them back to Topeka, walked up to their church, and said, we want to make a documentary about you with our cameras out. And we did a ride-along. They were not shy. They were not, they're scary people in their ideology, not particularly scary people face-to-face. And we just never, ever talked about our perspective. We just filmed them and talked to them and got documentary footage. What I will say, the reason that I bring this up is because those QAnon guys Like, people who are in that position, the thing that I think we always think of them as this, we think of them rightfully as being dangerous. They are dangerous, especially in mass. But on an individual level, these people are lonely, and they have this way of seeing the world that they believe is gifted just to them and to the people around them. And they have this special thing. And they really, like these QAnon guys, you saw the way that they jumped on their little catfish moment on that computer. And the reason I bring up the documentary I made is because the Westboro folks were the same way. We didn't, even if we did disagree with them, they didn't care. All they knew was that, oh man, people are going to hear me talking, and these people think I'm important enough to talk to. And they just, like, they will welcome you in. So I think it is crazy that he lived with them, but I think sometimes we imagine these guys as as living with their guns hanging out the window 24/7. In reality, they're just lonely, bored people without much going on in their lives who really think they have a secret they want to share.
Looks like you and Vinny kind of mind melded. Drop that in the chat right when you started talking about that. And
oh, interesting.
Yeah. And it's the same.
I did also make a movie about Snood, as Will is pointing out, that Will is in.
It's the same kind of That's funny. I think I've heard you talk about Snood.
Snood.
It's the same kind of. It's funny when you think about the more broad indoctrination, the more insidious nature of something like Fox News, because it's exactly the same thing of like, we've been talking about this recently where it's like there's the whole rest of the world.
Right.
And then there's this one network and its affiliates, and they make these people who become obsessed with consuming this one, this one thing, this one network. These anchors become like their friends. They really make them believe that they are special, that they are in on a secret that the rest of the world just doesn't understand because they're not as smart or informed as you. You
can hear it in the way, I mean, there's something in the Tucker Carlson comes to mind specifically because of his tone. It's very much the tone of a smarmy, these guys over here, am I right? Like,
I know.
That's their tone the whole time.
I see you.
Yeah. It's like, and what they just don't get, like, yeah, it's very self-congratulatory.
Yeah, and it circles back to one of our I forget if this was a pick of the week or a movie club rather, or I can't remember. I think it was when we watched Broadcast News a few weeks back, and we were discussing sort of that the age of, or the dawn of news anchors as personalities, as like friends that you more or less like visit every day, that you hang out with every day, and sort of the controversy of, is it okay to appeal to your audience as an equal or as a peer or as a friend or as a personality?
Now. I mean, look what you and I are now doing. This doesn't necessarily have a world. Like, we ostensibly are doing something that's old. We're doing a critic show where we talk about movies. The interactive element, obviously new. But the core of it is, like we've said before, very like Siskel and Ebert at the movies, Roper at the movies. But the fact that we're openly embracing the political nature of art and talking about that and espousing our own views to our friends, like, we are now in that world completely where everyone is doing it. Like, we absolutely, and that is where the 90s got us. Broadcast News being late 80s. We will get into the 90s. And Vineet dropping us on this right now. Tucker is who I was thinking about when Stephanie said Fox. Yeah, Tucker's a ghoul. Okay, Vineet. Well, now we have this drop. I need to take a break before we jump into this. Possession is 81. Young Frankenstein is the 70s, 80s. Castle Freak is 90s. The Witches is 90s. Sister Act 2 is your favorite movie of all time.
Wow.
Seed of Chucky is 2006. And Blair Witch Project, 74. Cool. So, let's do this, Vinny. Let's talk about Young Frankenstein. We got to talk about Possession. Let's talk about Seed of Chucky and Sister Act and save the rest for our 90s conversation. I need to wet my whistle. You hear this? You hear what's going on here?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about these, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Cool.
Will you bring me a sparkling
A
water?
crystal water, of course.
Sparkling water.
I'll bring you crystalline water.
Oh, hey, do we have any of the...
I'll bring you crystalline.
Do we have any of the Fear Street books in here?
I'll bring you a Fear Street
I can do a
book.
little ASMR while you take a break. Just to
Grab one of those scary storybooks.
ease the sin. Okay.
Or this. Here you go.
Okay. Oh. Okay, I hope you don't mind. I just did some. Can y'all hear me okay? Gonna feed Alan. Ghostbusters. Okay, can y'all hear me all right? I'm just gonna. So I did some extra meditation today, and it was really relaxing. So I thought I might do some ASMR. If you can hear me okay, just drop in the chat a little yes. Awesome. Okay, so like I said, hope you don't mind, but I was meditating earlier today, and I thought it would be really nice to just do some fun ASMR when I'm in here alone with y'all. So I guess I'll read Fear Street Super Chiller by R.L. Stein. This is called Broken Hearts. I really love, can y'all hear that? I really love the smell of books and the feel of old paper when it starts to kind of yellow. Oh, that was a little loud, sorry. Okay, the fall. The day of the terrible accident was bright and clear. Erica McLean stared out the back window of the car as houses and yards whirred by. A few leaves had started to turn. The passing maples revealed patches of yellow and scarlet among the dusty green leaves. Can you hear that? Adam just went to the bathroom. Shh, don't tell him. Don't tell him we heard. The toilet flush. Melissa Davis turned the car onto Old Mill Road and pushed down hard on the gas. The blue Firebird responded with a roar. "Why are we doing this?" she asked. "Why not?" Josie McLean replied. She sat in the front beside Melissa, pushing the radio buttons. "It's a beautiful day to go riding." Can you hear Adam coughing? I don't know what parts from outside the door you can hear or not.
How's it going?
It's pretty good. That was a nice little rest on my voice.
On your vocal cords. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
I love Addams Family, Ghostbusters 1. Dude, we got some good ones. Okay. Great Job Nerds is out feeding Alan. I love that he can just say that, and we all know. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to go through this real quick. I'm just going to do, like, whatchamacalls. Here's my little elevator responses to each movie. Did you make a prediction that I would do this when I got back?
No.
Oh, you just had a, like, very, like, knowing smile just now.
The chat knows why.
Oh, man. Okay. I knew it was going to be like that. Okay, Young Frankenstein. Have you seen Young Frankenstein? I mean, it's Young Frankenstein. It's hilarious. It's a masterpiece. Blair Witch Project we'll get to. Castle Freak, have I seen Castle Freak? I haven't seen Castle Freak. I'm confusing it with Dagon. I want to know what you thought of Castle Freak. That's a big hole in my Stuart Gordon tutelage. The Witches, old and new, have not seen the new one. I did see a comparison video on Twitter of an IMDb ad that was like both, like prominent scenes from both played next to each other. I was like, why in the world would you market your movie by showing your CG next to like Henson animatronics? It just looks... I'd watch it out of curiosity. We have a rule in the show that we don't talk shit about things we haven't seen. I won't talk shit on it, but I will say the trailer didn't inspire a lot of confidence in me. I love the original Witches. Seed of Chucky. We watched through the Child's Play franchise last year. Adore Seed of Chucky.
Yeah. Super fun.
High mark in queer horror. Sister Act 2, I feel like I mean, Stephanie made me watch it early on in our relationship. It's a very fun movie. And finally, Possession, which I'm intentionally dangling here. Possession, which is somewhere around these parts. Oh, it's right over here. This is a masterpiece. It's one of the best movies ever made. It's an incredible, incredible film. Might actually end up being my staff pick this week because of Vineet, and that's how I feel. And if you like it, Vineet, I really highly recommend this director's other movies, specifically Schwamanka, and let me see which one was really good. L'amour public, The Public Love, and then the Blue Note, Le Note Bleu. This is from the director of The Blue Note.
Oh, nice.
Which we watched very early in the year.
We did.
Okay, that's all I got.
Why don't you hand me that thing on the wall there?
Oh, yeah.
Vineet, can y'all see this okay? I don't know if you can tell. I'm gonna get a little closer.
Get a little closer.
I keep turning it the wrong way.
I like how great job Nerd said when he screams, "My name is Frankenstein." I laughed for so long I couldn't take a puff because my throat hurt so much. I didn't see Young Frankenstein for many years, and it's funny because I would have thought that I would have watched it with Holdenwook at some point, because Holdenwook came from a very Mel Brooks household, and that's how I ended up seeing Spaceballs and Robin Hood Men in Tights and Blazing Saddles. It was because of Holdenwook's dad. It is not.
I said it right here. It's not signed by Whoopi, but it is a vintage lobby card. Is this a lobby card? Or a, what's the other kind of card?
It's a German lobby card.
Yes.
No, it's not.
No,
what is that?
I think it's German.
That's not German. That's
Anvarsting till sister too.
Yeah, that's what is that? Swedish.
Som Dolores van Cartier are redu at Sinadigen.
Yeah, that looks Swedish to me. It is black and white.
Yes. So Sister Act 2 I probably saw like 55 times when I was a kid. And if like copyright wasn't an issue or muting wasn't an issue, I would do a stream where I quoted the whole movie along with the movie.
You can do a watch party now if it's on Prime for free. So we'll look. Maybe it's not.
Well, I think I could probably quote every line of that movie along with the movie.
That would be incredible. I think I could do that with Neverending Story. Do you have a movie you could do that with?
Yes.
Let us
drop
know.
it in the chat.
Okay. Terry Garr is smoking on it. Gene Wilder is, oh my God, just a treasure.
Terry Garr.
Just a treasure. Here.
Goog it.
Goog it. I'm giving it a goog for you.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ding-ling-ling-ling.
NES for sure. Yeah, Neverending Story. Neverending Story it is. As well, Will and I share an obsession, as we've talked about before. Terry Garr, whoo boy!
Whoo boy!
What were the other... oh, yeah, okay. So, Addams Family... Addams Family also rules and kicks ass. Obviously, Ghostbusters does. Vineet, since you were first in the chat... I need to know what you thought of these movies. Please just tell us. I mean, I told you my opinion. Do you have strong opinions on any of these?
I mean,
the old Witches, Seed of Chucky.
Yeah, the old Witches I watched quite a bit. It always really scared me, but it was one of those movies that really scared me, but I really loved watching, and it was like similar to like Dark Crystal or Neverending Story. It was like a challenge to get through certain scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Seed of Chucky we watched last year, and both really loved that franchise. That was a real fun one. We were actually talking about it like 2 days ago.
Got Chucky back here.
Yeah. And then Sister Act 2, obviously You know, Whoopi is like one of my first comedic inspirations. I love her in Jumpin' Jack Flash. I love her in Sister Act 2. I love her in Ghost. I love her one-woman show. If you've never watched clips of her one-woman show, I just think she's super inspiring, and I think she's hilarious, and I think she's so brilliant, and she's way more brilliant than a lot of people know as a comedian.
Why don't we do a Whoopi week?
Oh my god.
Let's do a Whoopi week after the holidays. Or and I see Tony G. Wiz said they found a first edition of the book. $2 is quite the price. Hardcover pre-movie book at a thrift store for $2, and Holden Book said with the red and green print, and I'm just wondering, this first edition hardcover with the red and green print, is that what you're referring to with the red and green print of the original first edition copy of the Neverending Story?
How much did you pay for that?
I got this for a birthday present, senior year of high school. I think
Very well.
I think they go for about $100 on eBay nowadays.
Okay, Tony G. Wiz, is that something you're gonna keep or flip?
And sorry, I just had to stunt on y'all. Possession, yes, one of the best movies ever made. I loved it. Unnerving from get-go. You have to put things together and pay attention, but it makes you pay attention. Yeah, it's like a bad dream, but it makes sense. Wedge, Whoopi has an EGOT. That's it.
Yes.
Whoopi does have an EGOT. What you got? She got an EGOT. That's actually from a verse I have written about. Should I just do my verse I've written about Whoopi Goldberg?
Yes, please. Oh my god, I love it.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. Well, I don't actually know where it is. Yeah. I don't know where that shit is. Well, I'll find it. Yeah.
Keeping. Good choice, Tony G. Wiz.
Neighborhood Kids and Wedge just kept watching The Witches. I think my mom rented this for me a bunch as a kid. I've never seen it in widescreen. I've only seen the tape and the DVD, the original DVD, which is in full frame. They never released it in widescreen. There's a Blu-ray out now. So I would actually love to rewatch it. Scared me, unnerved me, but I like loved it as well. You just keep watching it. Vineet made a good point earlier via text that in the book the kid stays a mouse, including having the lifespan of a mouse. Mm-hmm. And the movie has a happier ending.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that I think most people in the stream are in their 30s, or in the chat /us are in our 30s. And I think there's something interesting about the fact that multiple, more than one of us has said things scared me and I just watched my way through it. I just forced myself to watch it.
Right.
Because we didn't have other options.
I mean, you had the option of running and screaming from the room, which I did for a few movies.
Yeah, but I feel like, especially if you're like at your neighbor's house or whatever, it's like you're going to go hang out in your neighbor's bedroom without them.
I will say, I see where you're going with this. Can I say one thing I have observed that I hope I don't get in trouble for saying? That I work with a bunch of people who are about 6 or 7 years younger than us. Mm-hmm. And one of their big touch points for their childhood is the Disney Channel, in a way that Nickelodeon is a touch point for us, or Cartoon Network. And this might be totally bullshit in my head, pseudoscience, but I've talked a lot with them about pop culture and horror movies. And as a general trend, I have found that people who reference Disney Channel there's a correlation between fondly referencing Disney Channel and saying, I'm afraid of horror movies. And a reverse of people who, like, basically, I just think Disney Channel made a whole generation of kids wimps.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
man.
I also think and
I'm just being an old man.
No. I don't think so. I think that there's definitely some truth to that. But I think more so what I was referencing is, okay, so if you're just at home by yourself or with your sister or whoever, or your siblings or whoever, and you don't have cable, you don't have Nickelodeon, you don't have TV to flip through really, and you have like 10 movies on your shelf.
Right.
And you have a small video store without a lot of options. I don't know. That's just maybe that's very specific to my experience, but it's sort of like you either watch what you have available or you don't watch anything. And some days you just feel like watching a movie, but you're like, okay, I can rewatch whatever I've seen 50 times, or I can walk to the video store where they have the same 200 movies and like 5 new releases that are already checked out. Mm-hmm. And there's no cable.
It's options. What you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying that in a really long-winded way.
Well, okay, we got some vibes for, I think, both. I don't know what the delay is. I think for what we both said, and I do want to jump back. Tony G weighs 40. We're getting there. We're all getting there together. Mm-hmm. Gordon has done a bunch of loose Lovecraft adaptations. It seems that, as you know, I'm all about that right now. He also died back in March. He did. Rest in peace, Stuart Gordon. One of my favorite directors. And you're right, a lot of Lovecraft. I still need to watch Lovecraft Country and put these pieces together, but Stuart Gordon, I feel like almost exclusively did Lovecraft. We have a movie that we're going to talk about a little later tonight called The Resurrected, which is also a Lovecraft adaptation from Dan O'Bannon, the director of Return of the Living Dead, which was weird and fun, and we're going to talk about that more. Reanimator, finally! Oh, I'm very excited for you. So, great job, nerds. You also rented, drawing in private information here, but you also rented Society, and Reanimator will be a first-time watch for you. Reanimator definitely falls into this category along with like Evil Dead 2 and Dead Alive and Killer Clowns. Like, I would say those 4 movies, specifically Evil Dead 2, Killer Clowns, Reanimator, and Dead Alive, were for me like like a very significant phase of high school life of horror comedy that influenced me to this day, and are among the movies I have watched the most number of times. I know Holdenwook knows this because we watched at least a few of those together at least a few times. I feel like Dead Alive and Killer Clowns in particular kind of made their way around the friend group. But yes, Gordon and Yuzna, I always want to say Yunza. Yes, there's a lot there. So Society, I was thinking it was a Stuart Gordon movie. It's not, but that's why. There's a lot of connection there. Anyway, I'm so excited for you to watch Reanimator. You'll also really like Bride of Reanimator. You have a lot to look forward to there. And then my dude, you got to watch From Beyond. I don't know if you've seen From Beyond, but Reanimator and From Beyond are like the science and mystical different sides of the same coin. So cool. We got to watch From Beyond as well.
Yes, and I had my head turned to the camera because I was looking for your VHS copy of Society, and I was...
Oh yeah, that's actually a rarer one.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, oh, we should show it off.
Yeah, here's a tape of Society. I got this back in the day in like a $1 sale. It's actually a more sought after tape now. So this is a, you never know. You never know.
You never know.
Some of the stuff. Oh, and Will is correct in saying we watched Dead Alive several times, for sure.
And I just want to point out, just to say it out loud, that Adam has been singing the Killer Clown song about 300 times a day for about 300 days. So I just had to get that off my chest.
That's 90,000 times. P.T. Barnum said it so long ago. There's one born every minute. There's you, killer clowns. Some make you cry. These bones are coming on to make you die. Whoa. Not to make this Lovecraft stream, but I want to shout out Richard Stanley because he's also making a Lovecraft trilogy after his big return with Color Out of Space. Holy shit. Holy shit. I didn't realize Color Out of Space was Richard Stanley. I am so out of the loop on that. I just thought it was another kooky, colorful movie with Nick Cage that I could backburner and get to eventually. That's very pertinent. We're going to talk about Richard Stanley later tonight. That is why I talked about Harvey Weinstein earlier. I apologize because he discovered Richard Stanley.
Wow.
His first feature after 20 years. Richard Stanley went through the ringer, and we're going to talk about it later tonight. What a career awesomeness. Now, I am so... Yes, great song. And if you watch... if you happen to fall into the favor of a Killer Clowns VHS tape, as I very luckily did. This is a rare boy. It has to be the original, not the MGM re-release.
Who's a rare boy?
He's a rare boy.
Who's a rare boy?
It's got an uncut music video on the end of it for that song.
I also just want to say, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I just want to shout out Vineet's spelling of return. The sort of medieval return.
Yeah.
Return. It does make me think of the resurrection as well.
Mm-hmm.
Return.
Oh, that's a fun movie.
It was.
Yes. Okay. Richard Stanley. We'll get to him. We're going to talk about the 90s. That's really exciting. I need to watch Color Out of Space. Shall we move on to new arrivals?
Yeah. Oh wait, are we doing what we watched first and then new arrivals?
Yeah. That's what we always do.
Oh.
What we in the crowd watched. We talked through a lot of it.
Oh, I was just wondering because
Return of the Jedi.
I guess we're saving our lists for later.
Oh, that's because if they're on theme, we save it for movie
Correct.
club.
Correct.
New arrivals. That's good. I wish they would have heard the whole thing.
Oh man.
Okay, so new arrivals. Well, one of these is a 90s movie that we watched, so let's just get that out of the way.
That's why I got confused, because it was on the top of the stack.
That's right. The rest of it's hiding over here. This is called The Resurrected. We'll talk about it a little later. This is a new one for me. It was a blind buy. I'm very happy that I picked it up. Mm-hmm. It was highly recommended by a number of, here's some movies you might not have heard, horror movies you might not know about from the 90s. Wanted to check it out. It is based on a Lovecraft story. Really interesting one. We were saying that we wouldn't be surprised if the story it was based on was an epistolary story, told through letters and diary entries, because so much of it is weirdly narrated. There's a lot of letters written back and forth, but
a lot of devices.
A lot of weird access to the plot here.
Devices. Yeah, and also we said we wouldn't be surprised if it were a... Well, Whoopi, I think you can go hang out over here.
Oh, no.
A story that's 20 pages.
Yes.
That they straight...
Twang.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a lot of it needed less space than it was given. But the last half hour for me, it was an effects extravaganza. I felt the last.
I don't mean to interrupt you with a laugh. I just saw Watch Out Wedge, the return of the Jedi, Jedi.
Very good.
Jedi. Jedi.
Jedi. The return of the Jedi. Next thing that came in the mail, we'll talk about Resurrected a little bit more when we get on theme. Next thing, finally this arrived. So, The Mist is one I should have already owned. And I wish I'd picked up the Blu-ray when it came out, because it's out of print, and the Blu-ray is a little pricey. I didn't want to drop the money on it. So I got the DVD instead. The reason I picked this up, though, and the reason I got this specific version of the DVD, is because there's no streaming version of the black and white version of The Mist. And that's Frank Darabont's preferred version. I've never seen the black and white version. I have a hunch that it'll make... my hunch here, my hope is that a lot of those effects will read a little bit more just grounded by muting the palette. Really love this movie already, but I've only seen the theatrical release. So had to pick up the 2-disc special edition where they put his black and white version on disc 2. If you're not aware, Frank Darabont, director of, Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile, but he's got quite the knack for horror, he does. In fact, I would say he does because he also was the showrunner, or at least the executive producer or creator of The Walking Dead. So, great movie. Can't wait to see the black and white version. Also, great Lovecraft adaptation in a way. That is, that's a really good point. It's a Stephen King, but it does definitely deal with tentacled beast from other dimensions. That's not a spoiler. That's what's on the cover. Great thing. Yes, in black and white. That's the director's version. Next up on the new arrivals, this one I've been waiting to get for a long time. This DVD's normally like $80, and I just wasn't having that because it's a bootleg. Finally found someone selling it at a bootleg price on eBay. There's no U.S. release of this. Maybe there will be someday. So I have this book that I found at we were in Chicago a couple years ago, and we went into a bookstore, and there was this really cool book called Sex and Zen, A Guide to Hong Kong Movies. And it was like written in the 90s, just couple film lovers. And this movie came up in it. And a lot of the movies that are in it is like, oh, it's one of the best movies ever made, bro. It's from Hong Kong. You just can't find it. But I found this one. It's called Peacock King. It's an adaptation of a famous manga. It's an effects-driven horror action movie. Probably going to watch it this week. Really excited to finally lay eyes on that bad boy because it's hard to find. Scare package came in the mail. I was very proud to receive a Blu-ray in the mail. This is the first time I've ever received a Blu-ray in the mail or a movie in the mail that my roommate was in. My partner. So Stephanie's in this.
Roommate.
You know, I was trying to make it broad just to say I've never had it happen.
And I just pulled these out to remind everyone.
Show off your shit.
To remind everyone that if you want to go on Fright Rags or Paper Street Pictures, there are several options for official. Here's my Scare Package shirt from Fright Rags. Fright Rags. Of this really rad poster for the film. And you can find one that's Goo Guy, and one for the video store that's in the movie. And then if you go on Paper Street Pictures, they have lots of fun merch, including collectible trading cards. Here's mine. If you can see, you can't really see.
Get it up there.
Here's mine. I played Dawn in the film. That's me, all bloody.
Dawn in the Dead.
Yeah.
Look at all these clap emojis you're getting from nerds. Can I get one of you covered in blood? Yes, please.
Yes, please. But yeah, if you want to go on Paper Street Pictures or on Fright Rags, you can check out really cool, officially licensed Scare Package merch. Give it a whirl.
Very cool. Very cool. And after this,
and this has a nice texture.
It does. It has. I actually should have pointed that out. Look. First of all, let's look inside because we haven't. We can truly unbox this. First of all, nice embossed hand here, embossed, titles embossed. It is it's on Shudder, so it comes with the episode of Joe Bob Briggs's Last Drive-In that it was featured on. So we should definitely watch that so you can see Joe Bob Briggs talk about you. He's also in the movie. And let's see here. Let's unwrap this. You know, we're probably just gonna get probably bare bones. Yeah, we got a little Shudder. We got a little Shudder ad here. I will say, disc is full print. That's nice. That's nice.
That's cool.
It's gonna be nice to put this on the shelf, just like the hand is putting it on the shelf. And finally, the last thing that came is not a movie. One of my favorite albums of all time. This is a must for me. It's currently online on vinyl, new for $20. Picked it up. Here it is. Uh-oh, I fucked it up. Here it is.
Oh boy.
Will you do me a favor and hold this? This is an album, if you're not familiar with the Misfits or specifically Famous Monsters, this is an album of power ballads about being monsters in movies and dying from monsters, and it's awesome. I'm coming clean for Amy. There's that. And now we've done our new arrivals.
We have, and I just want to say again to get it off my chest.
Ugh.
Adam already knows what I'm gonna say. If he hasn't been singing Killer Clown song, he's been singing Saturday Night.
That's what the song's called, Saturday Night.
That's
it's my favorite song on the album.
I've heard for many, many moons.
And that's it for new arrivals. Now it's time for movie.
Movie Club.
Movie club,
baby.
Do you want to take, before we jump into this, so look, we're an hour 20 into the stream. Generally, we go for about 3 hours, and generally the second half of the show is taken up by movie clubs. So, encourage everyone to get a glass of water. I'm going to run and TT one more time and grab myself my last beer for the stream. Maybe. Do you want to take a break as well? I'm also just feeling particularly... Look, it's been a little rainy and overcast here in Austin. And I gotta say, it's kind of coming out my throat. Needing a little drink a little bit more than normal.
Yeah. I'm good to just chill if you want to go, and then I can go. And
all right, we'll arrange a break system. But here's what we're going to be doing. We've been picking a theme of the week every week during October. This week's theme leading up to today was 90's week. So Stephanie and I dove into as many 90's movies as we could fit into our schedule. We obviously have the ones we've already seen. We tried to watch a lot of new to us stuff or touch base on classics. We know you probably watched some horror movies from the 90's. We know Vineet did. So let's get those marinating. And the goal here is that we're going to talk about that theme for a while. And then we're going to hop into our movie club pick, which was Blair Witch Project. We're going to talk about that for a while. And then we're going to decide on what we want our movie club pick to be for next week and talk about the future. So that's where we're headed. So if you have here's just a heads up. We're going to take a quick 3-minute break here. Go ahead and start getting 90's movies, 90's culture on the brain, if you would.
on the gourd.
That's what they said in the 90's.
It's also fall, so it's fun to say gourd.
You're out of your gourd.
You're out of your gourd. Just kidding. Okay. Golly gee. Thought he'd never leave, huh? So I think I'll take a quick break once he gets back because, like I said before, he did watch, looks like roughly 4.5 movies that I did not watch. I do tend to, go to bed, well, I'll just say it, earlier than Adam on most nights. I like to light my incense and get my furry blanket and open a window, sip some hot tea. What's your evening routine? I wish I had a fireplace in this room. A crackling fireplace. And Vineet, if you're still out there, great job, nerds. Please tell me if that was the first time that you watched Sister Act 2, / what you thought of it, because like I said, unfortunately, I know pretty much every line to that movie. That was in very heavy rotation. And yeah, Whoopi was one of my first, comedy crushes, for sure. And probably crushes, if I'm really honest with myself, as well as Marissa Tomei, which she definitely was a crush / comedy crush. My cousin Vinny was, and still is, one of my all-time favorites. Let's see. No, it was family favorite. Okay, very good. Rewatch then. Putting on my cargo shorts literally right now. Got my puka shell necklace ready. Sister and I would watch it weekly probably. Yes, I love that. Great job, nerds. And I love this visual that's getting painted here with some cargo shorts, some puka shell necklace. I was going to dress up in a 90's, the last couple weeks I've been trying to Disney bound or do a little dress up. on theme, and I really truly wanted to do like a fun 90s outfit. And then I realized that I didn't have the energy. Okay. So I sort of capped out my energy, and I said, we'll do a side pony. That's close enough. Okay. 311. We can probably just keep it to the cargo shorts. What's the most embarrassing thing you wore in the 90s? Looking back. Now I'm trying to think of what mine is. I think one of the things that was really cool that I wore in the 90s that I wasn't supposed to wear, I don't know what that means, but my neighbor was really into kind of the Clarissa Explains It All tights, like bright colored tights with cutoff shorts over it. And I just really wanted to get into that look. And I also used to sneak into the closet under our stairs, and I would steal my dad's button-down t-shirts, and I would try to wear these like ratty. We're talking about what are the things you wore in the 90s that you're like, to be fair, I would still wear bright colored tights with cutoff shorts over them, and I would still wear wear ratty old button-down men's clothing.
Well, a lot of 90s fashion is back now.
Well, thank goodness.
For me, it was giant cargo shorts.
We've got I forget who said
camo cargo
Watch Out
pants.
Wedge said they're putting on their cargo shorts, and Tony G Wiz was getting the puka shell necklace ready. So
cargo shorts up to the wazoo. Hypercolor t-shirts. Oh, but those are so cool.
Oh,
and glow in the dark shirts. Like, if we're talking 90s like, it's weird. Okay, I don't know what age y'all were in the 90s. I was ages 5 through 15, so that was childhood. So, like, I definitely remember cool glow in the dark hypercolor stuff, but then I'm also junior high fashion. I had soap shoes. Y'all know what soap shoes are? They're shoes with a little plastic arch built into the middle of them so that you can freestyle walk and grind rails while you're walking. They're badass.
Sounds like some rich kid stuff to me.
Soaps. No, dude, I know.
Well, I had knockoff Doc Martens.
$40. They were $40 a pair, and I know that because I was like, "Please let me get them. They're only $40 a pair. All the shoes you want to get me cost way more." And my mom said, "You're right. Okay, fine."
Fine, you can have your soap shoes, and then she promptly put 2 bars of soap on your toes.
Oh no, Vanit had a glow in the Star Wars episode. That's amazing. That's meta. Episode 1 pod racing shirt that glowed in the dark.
That's fun.
And at one point, everyone had soaps in junior high. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
I don't remember that.
Look,
Phenom.
I don't know if we can help that Virginia and Iowa were probably the hippest places to grow up, but Vanit didn't have soaps. Okay, well, Iowa at least. Graduated high school in 98, full on 90s. That is a very that is a 90s. You were the kid in all the movies I grew up watching. Thinking, wow, they're cool.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that kids in 90s teen movies seemed cool and kids in 80s teen movies seemed scary and mean?
No.
I feel like all the 80s teen movies I watched, all the teenagers were mean. Maybe that's just me. Did you want to take your break before we get in the movie club?
Oh, I was saying to the chat that
June, Bear, baby girl, you need to leave. Sorry, doggy. You gotta go.
I'll take her with me. So I was saying, since you watched a few more movies than me, maybe you could start diving into what you watched on your own while I take a quick break.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
The Frosted Tips.
Oh.
Hi, puppy.
Come on, baby.
Hi, baby girl. Follow mama. Follow mama.
Come.
Good dog. Okay. I will do it. I will do it. All right, y'all. So, like Stephanie said, the 90s are a giant decade, and it's perhaps the most difficulty we've had figuring out what to watch all month. So what we tried to do, we watched a few classics together. We watched Blair Witch. I'm really happy we watched it. Generally, we watch our movie club picks on the Monday before the show because we want them to be fresh. Really happy that's how it worked out because it's from 1999. And I started the week with a lot of movies from 1990 and tried to run this gamut. So basically, I observed some major themes here. We're going to jump into them. There's a lot to talk about here. So we'll go slow. Hop in the chat if you want anything. Let's take our time here. We even know where to be. But I will go ahead and outline a few themes. Feel free to jump on these in the chat. One, technophobia. Now, I felt like such a fool because all week long I'm like, Stephanie, there's this theme throughout all these movies of a fear of technology entering our bodies, of subsuming us, of taking us away. And of course, I'm thinking in the realm of horror and watching those things. And then yesterday I go, yes, and in 1999 we get The Matrix. Of course that's there. And of course there's that fear that as we approach 2000, Y2K, which was a real concern for a lot of people, as we approach that Y2K panic, I think we do two things. One is we worry about the future of where technology is taking us. We start to see ourselves in it. We'll get to that. That very much relates to Blair Witch. And then also we have this panic that what if this is the end? And there's this rebirth of religion. You get a lot of religious panic movies in the 90s. Right. We get End of Days, Stigmata. I know that I'm forgetting some here. The Devil's Advocate, Fallen. Those are the two I was forgetting. And then now that techno fear, and also a re-reliance on magic, which I would argue is the halfway point. Like, we've got this technophobia, kind of a future freak out. Where are things going to go? Our machine's going to take over. Will I lose my humanity? And horror, we're just understanding that as a genre, horror is going to pick out what our fears are. So on the one side, we've got this technophobia, and then on the other side, we've got this kind of the almost religious fear of God, the unknown, the end of times, the millennium.
Oh.
Doggy. And this is worth noting that
Oh no.
Animals. This is like toddlers coming into a meeting. You're Doro. I love you.
Come on, Cookie.
Bye. I love you, baby.
Come on, baby.
So, on the one hand of things, we have our technology, right? Technophobia. On the other hand, we have this religious fear. And I would say right in the middle is magic, because magic, a re-reliance on magic, specifically women using magic, the craft. Witches. Practical magic. Those both come to mind. And they are controlling of the world that might be getting away from us from technology, but they're also kind of a rebellion against this religious fear, this millenarian end of world cult kind of thinking that we get into, which in itself, I would argue, a lot of the end of days, stigmata, religious freakout fear is also an echo. If we're talking about 20-year rule, it's also an echo of the cult panic of the 70s, when people were reeling from, the invention of Dungeons and Dragons, cult movies like Texas Chainsaw. So we have that echo coming back in the 90s, and really it's a fear of the unknown, as horror always is, but I think specifically tech and magic. So what we talked about earlier, Richard Stanley's first movie, 1990, a hell of a debut. This is one of the first ones I watched. Hardware. Hardware was fantastic, and Hardware from 1990, very much about literally technologies taking over. It's a cyber horror movie that was doing something kind of unique for its time. Not just a killer robot, but a movie that's also a Western and really had a lot of beautiful world building. Very much had this kind of like, and a lot of 90s, especially lower budget things have this style, but very freewheeling handheld movements. Like, definitely a break with formalism, which to me not only suggests youthful energy coming in, a lot of space for young independent directors and new ideas. Not only that, which certainly is there, but the camera also becoming increasingly aware of itself by becoming mobile, which eventually in 2020 gets us to these. Again, we'll get there. But Hardware and Frankenhooker were the two that I started off with. Now,
can I just say?
Yes, jump in anytime you want to.
I'm
going off.
Literally, all I'm gonna say is, I'm eating a tangerine. If you have misophonia and you can hear me, just say, shut up.
Just say, no tangerine. Frankenhooker was also from 1990, weirdly very appropriate. So Hardware is about long story short, there's a guy, he's a scrapper in a post-apocalyptic world. He finds a robot head and a robot arm, and he buys it, or he gets it from another dude for his girlfriend, who is an artist. She installs it together. She paints an American flag on the robot head. Turns out the robot head is a killing robot that starts wanting to population control people, and it's about governmental control. It's obviously about like colonialism to a large extent, and but let me back up. Colonialism, but also the extent to which technology can be a sneaky force of destruction. Frankenhooker, 1990. This is my preferred of the two. Frankenhooker was incredible. Vineet, I'm actually thinking of you specifically when I recommend this. I know there's been a running joke on this show about Frankenhooker, me saying it a lot. This was an incredible movie. It is very much about the consumption of body, the consumption of objectified bodies, obviously, specifically women's objectified bodies. But I gotta say, this movie starts... okay, so this is actually a perfect segue, because last week we talked about 80s second wave feminism and the male gaze and the female gaze and the neutral camera gaze. Mm-hmm. And then in the 90s, we start to think about that gaze, but reflected back. And Frankenhooker does both, because Frankenhooker is all about the gaze. It is a outright, boldly feminist movie about the ways in which ways of seeing, but it begins with a shot of a brain with an eyeball in a tank, looking at the scientist who's our main character. And then the camera pans over to the monitor, which shows that brain's eyeball's vision, and he waves his hand in front of it. I was already talking about how I was expecting, based on last week's conversation, a lot of meta stuff to happen in the 90s week. But the fact that the first thing I put on, the first image from it, I ran into the other room to tell Stephanie. Stephanie, the first thing I saw was literally a brain in a vat. Hello, Descartes. Looking at something through technology. And of course, the 90s, it's all about questioning, is this reality? And here's Frankenhooker doing it in 1990, 9 years before The Matrix really solidifies the prototype. And we all say, yeah, it's postmodern, we get it. Before we are jaded and we're tired of meta shit and we're tired of TV episodes of Community that know their TV episodes, before we get there, the idea is first introduced. And Frankenhooker, cutting edge. Another movie that I've seen that you haven't, that I'm going to reference real quick, on the cutting edge, because we don't need to get too deep into this, is New Nightmare, which we will watch, in which Freddy is reimagined as a force of storytelling that the creator of Freddy, Wes Craven, who acts in this movie, has to confront. We'll get there. That plays in later. And then finally, the other thing that I watched, I do want to talk about People Under the Stairs, but I feel like it's more of a function of horror to be used as a political object. And I do think that has room in the 90s, but I want to stay on my tech tip for 1 second while I refer to the only other thing I watched that you didn't, which is an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark from season 4 called The Tale of the Renegade Virus. And y'all already know what I'm talking about. There is a renegade virus inside of the kid's brain. It is, the actor is a little person with silver makeup and a giant brain, and he calls him Einstein a lot. This movie explicitly has the main character kid with a little port on his hand, and the demonic virus trying to plug in the male port into that to download his brain. Even our children's programming during this time is about that body horror. Where will I lose my humanity and become part of this technological blob? And again, Matrix puts a little cap on it and gives us the battery pod visual, and there we are. We have a perfect visual metaphor for it. But before that, it's all bubbling up. Mm-hmm. Cool. So that's what I've got on technology. In terms of things seeing themselves through technology, that's the other part I want to jump to. But I think that I have just talked quite a bit, and you should jump into something that we watched this week together. So I'm throwing that out there. My whole thesis statement for this week is the ways of seeing through technology making us question reality. That's there, but I want to get deep into it later with Blair Witch. And now please take the mic.
Okay. I'm just kidding. Well, I did want to say that I'm very intrigued by Frankenhooker. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. But okay, so I've been very reluctant to watch Basket Case based on what I've seen, the imagery I've seen from it, and what I know about the film and what I know about the special effects. And you kind of said there was a lot of similar body horror, and I'm curious if anyone out there has seen Basket Case and or Frankenhooker, and if so, what are your thoughts?
Benit's a big Basket Case fan. Just watched it a few weeks ago. See if he's out there. No pressure if you're not, bruh.
Yeah, I'm just curious because it sounds fairly... Well, it sounds like something that might make me feel disturbed in a very particular way.
Is it the uncanny valley of it?
I think so.
I loved Basket Case. Benit says.
Yeah, there's something... I mean, but, you know, at the same time, it's the same reason why if I watch a John Waters film, I feel kind of ill, because there's just that. But I enjoy. Yeah, I don't like that.
Is it because of the uncanny valley of the creature, or is it because you imagine what it would be like to live as this creature and that horrifies you existentially?
It's the existential horror.
Yeah, because you imagine, what if my body was malformed and I lived in a basket like that?
Uh-huh.
Well,
yeah, see, I don't like that. See, I don't even...
Yeah, and Benit was saying the uncanny valley doesn't... I would agree. I just wondered if maybe it was like it looks too real.
I mean, I think it's that paired with...
Sorry, it's still up.
I know. I think it's that sort of married with the existential dread that just kind of drives it home for me. Like, the visual is the...
See, I don't think that something like Frankenhooker might bother you because, like, there are like mutant people from multiple body parts, and that is existentially horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Brain Damage, his other movie, his big three being those three, and Brain Damage, I don't think would bother you as much. Brain Damage is a straight up addiction story. Seeing in movement might change your perception, Benit says.
Okay.
Unless it is just you thinking of yourself as Belial and panicking.
I mean, I do. I don't know. Who knows? I should give it a go.
Give it a goog. What did we watched? Should we just want to rattle them off?
Yeah.
We watched The Frighteners.
Okay, so I just want to say real fast that Benit said it very quickly went from being gross and sick to a practical effect I began to enjoy. Okay. Yeah. I think I could probably get on board with that.
And the second and third one just upped the budget and introduced all these other like freak characters that are like cool monster effects, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
Really, Dwayne makes me more uncomfortable than anyone else. Belial is like the creature effect is like, oh, it's a cool monster effect. It's Dwayne, the main character, who's taking care of him and like feeding people to him, that freaks me out.
Yeah, I don't like either.
I don't like either part of that, Adam. Both sound bad to me.
Yes, let's dive into the other things we watched.
The Frighteners from 96.
Uh-huh.
Urban Legend, a Scream knockoff that works from 98. Misery from 90. Wishmaster, first time watch for both of us, 97. The Resurrected, as we mentioned. And then, of course, Blair Witch Project, 99.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I'll just say, like, as a quick overview, I feel like this week for, dual watches at least, was kind of a home run for me.
Nice.
I enjoyed them all. I enjoyed them all for different reasons. I thought they were all entertaining in very different ways. It just felt like a very balanced approach to a very short week to explore the 90s.
Nice. Did you have any... So I have my whole, I have my tip I'm on about, technology, which I feel like is there, and I'll deep dive on it a little later. That's my big takeaway, is technology and magic. Did you feel like in the movies we watched together that you saw... I mean, I'm trying to think of... It's hard to lift a theme. You lived up... I feel like I pulled at threads, and I feel like you lived up more to the actual name of our theme, which was 90s grab bag.
Yeah.
Whereas I kind of followed the theory I had.
Yeah.
I feel like you got a really good scatter shot. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this, whereas with other themes we had, they felt like there was at least some kind of specificity to say like, oh, let's talk about what X means or how Y relates to X or whatever. But this just felt so broad for me that I wasn't necessarily looking for dots to connect, especially since it ranged from like 90 to 99. Literally, we like kind of watched. We skipped like 92 and 93, and 95, but we really were all over the place.
We really did early and late.
Yeah, 90,
96
91,
is halfway
96,
there.
97, 98, 99.
Well, okay, let's start with the okay, if I'm trying to pull out, I'm also having trouble because these are all scattershot. I will say, if you want to talk about the writer confronting their own myth, Misery's got it for you. Urban Legend, oh my God, has it for you. Urban Legend is a particularly smart Scream ripoff because it understands that being a hip, young slasher isn't the only thing working for Scream. And it manages to also milk its own... It's such a smart little rip because it also manages to milk its own little, like, it's about the myth and story we tell angle.
I also appreciated how Urban Legend, if we just want to start there, since...
Sure, yeah.
Since we...
I mean, what's your favorite Urban Legend?
Urban Legend, I thought was great. I had never really seen this movie. This was one of those, like... that I just missed, you know. It's sort of that time where I wasn't really consuming a lot of horror, and yeah, I just never have. I think I've seen like bits and pieces, but really sitting and watching it thoughtfully, this was my first time, and I thought it was great. One thing I really enjoyed about Urban Legend is that I felt like my mind was kind of constantly theorizing who the killer was.
That's always a fun feeling.
Yeah.
That's why I loved Agatha Christie.
I love Agatha Christie, and I grew up reading Agatha Christie novels, and I've always loved mystery, and I've always loved thrillers, and it was fun to see those kind of mystery thriller ideas being put through a 90s, kind of a poppy 90s lens. And I really enjoyed it because I did figure out who the killer was, but it took me almost
close, almost
to the very end.
I was gonna say you cut it close. You figured it out, but you figured it out when you only had like 2 people, it's like 3 people left to choose from.
Yeah, it was like 3.
To be fair,
it was 3 people left, but yes, and I was still like, I think it's, but.
Now, Will, can you tell me if you're still here? No pressure. I never, just a side note, never want to be the guy who's like, hey, I saw your name in the chat, so I'm assuming you're tuned in. But Will, if you are still here, did we see Urban Legend in theaters? I honestly don't remember if I watched it on tape or in theaters. I feel like I saw it in theaters. If so, it might be the first R-rated movie I saw in theater. I don't know. Yeah, but, sorry, just had to
no
side note that. And I lost it.
Urban Legend. Well,
I do think that, okay, if I'm drawing a thread between that, first of all, absolutely love it. Think it's really clever. Yes, the whodunit aspect. That's what I was going to say, is the whodunit aspect. And I think that's what truly makes a Scream ripoff a Scream ripoff, is that's where I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend, even The Faculty to a certain extent, because there's a Body Snatchers vibe there where you don't know who to trust.
That's true.
Are good at that. And I would say, like, that's why Final Destination is weird, because it's a Scream ripoff, but you know who done it. The characters don't.
And Scream is so embedded in the zeitgeist of, like, just the thread of pop culture that I feel like you just, through osmosis, like, figure out whether or not you've seen Scream, which we've all probably seen Scream, several times.
It's weird how it's become, like, now they're showing it on the weekend on AMC or on ABC. ABC, much different.
But it's so rare that, well, I'm sure that most people in the chat already knew Urban Legend and probably already know I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I had that on our list as well because
I would still watch that.
That's another one where I'm like, I don't know who did it.
It's a good movie. I Know What You Did Last Summer is good. It's fun. It just wasn't top of mind for me this week. But
I heard that.
Our theme coming forward, it wasn't top of mind for me personally because it was. I feel like I know where I place it in the history, and I wanted to watch things I didn't know where the pin fell yet. So Urban Legend, I feel like, is the one that I was like, cool. This is just a pure joy watch. I don't think it's gonna blow my mind. But now that now that we're talking about it, it does actually still fit into this whole, like, it does find its own sneaky way to basically do the Scream thing of being about the scary story. What is an urban legend but an old scary movie?
Yeah, it's true. And the beginning of Urban Legend, like, quite honestly, really fucked me up.
I knew it would. I'm sorry. Brad Dourif, though. I'm Leo. I'm this Leo from I don't know how he's posing, from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Whenever I see Brad Dourif in a movie, I love seeing Brad Dourif. Maybe my favorite actor ever. Okay, so Urban Legend. We watched The Frighteners. The
Frighteners was super fun, and I mean, I think these were all first-time watches for me.
That's awesome.
Every single movie we watched.
And I don't want to forget what Vineet said was the 90s one that I said we were going to come back to.
What did I miss?
Castle Freak?
A diaper.
I don't know. It's in here somewhere. Castle Freak, Blair Witch Project, and The Witches. Cool. Mm-hmm. Just don't want to forget those. Mm-hmm. We made the mistake of watching Blair Witch True after finishing the original last week. Well, we made it like 20 minutes out anyway.
Okay. I'll let you take that.
Well,
we can
Vineet also said, oh yeah, I forgot to say See to Chucky was 100% fun all the way through. Y'all were right. Will, we watched Blair, I don't want to get into it yet. But we watched Blair Witch Project last night, and then I immediately put on Blair Witch Project 2 because, okay, I'll just say it. I'm convinced that there is no greater indicator of the moment that the 90s become the aughts than the difference between Blair Witch Project 1 and Blair Witch Project 2. Blair Witch Project 1 explores all these ideas of the cameras debating what reality is, the filters we put reality through. We'll get through that. Blair Witch 2 just explodes that idea and is weirdly futuristic in the messiness of the reality it presents. I think it's not a good movie. It's very sloppy, but oh my god, is it like complete flip from the I have notes. We'll get into it.
It sounds like something we need to put a pin in.
It doesn't matter how much I knew about the franchise. The movie just kept going with such momentum. It was so fun. Seed of Chucky.
Yeah.
And
so fun.
One of the first non-binary characters in movies, period. Of course, leave it to horror.
Yeah.
And leave it to the Chucky franchise. Glenn, who...
Totally.
Yeah, was Enby.
Mm-hmm.
Enby doll.
Let's touch on... I don't know why I said... Let's touch on the
doll.
Frighteners.
Let's touch on the Frighteners. Okay, this is maybe the movie that got me into horror movies and into Michael J. Fox. And into Peter Jackson. When I realized Lord of the Rings was the same director as Dead Alive and Frighteners, I mean, I remember Will and I freaked out. We were like, holy shit. The Lord of the Rings movie is coming from the Dead Alive dude and the Frighteners dude. Frighteners was originally a Tales from the Crypt movie. It very much feels that way. That's why Zemeckis' name is still on it. I love this movie. What did you think? Bobby Z.
So I think it's so fun. It's so great. There is one joke that I just cannot unhear.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a back-to-back double whammy, like a oopsie.
She's talking about the old sheriff character ghost having humped sex with the mummy.
Oh.
And then he says something gross about her lying still, and it's just not a joke that aged well.
No. You know what? I don't like that phrase when you're referring to a joke like that, because... That's
fair. It didn't just age well. It was never good.
It was never good.
I will say, when I was a kid, I didn't understand it. I just thought it was a dumb sex joke.
Yeah. It's a disgusting sex sentence. Okay.
Brutal takedown of the writer.
Feminist. What is it?
Feminism.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Feminism. What was the banner that's supposed to come across? A woman's perspective. Woman's POV.
Make that. But did you enjoy it? Like, what were your...
Yes. Okay. So that aside, I thought it was super fun. I love Michael J. Fox.
Treasure.
What a treasure. I just found it to be quintessentially 90s and just really, it really did feel like a Tales from the Crypt movie. The one thing that sort of took me out of the film, and this is kind of depressing and maybe might be a TW, but you know, the whole thing is centered around a mass shooting. Mm-hmm. And we sort of talked about a little bit after the movie of how at that time that was not really something that was...
It was pre-Columbine.
So, yeah.
It was pre-Columbine, so it was seen as a novel, a terrifying, novel, rare, mythical event.
Yeah, that wasn't carried out by psychotic killers.
Right.
And not saying that people who, you know...
But like comically over the top,
yes.
I live to kill characters.
Yes.
Like Mickey and
like
Mallory.
Lick the Knife kind of characters.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Lick the Knife characters. I like that a lot.
So, weirdly, that aspect of the film kind of took me out of it because it's like, oh, this is just depressing.
You just gotta take yourself back to the 90s.
I know. You
mass shootings were
I know.
something only for the movies.
I know, and I fully realize that you have to watch things, and it's actually one of our
charter rules.
One of our things that we mention here at the stream is you have to contextualize things when you watch them. Like, think about, you know, what was happening. Think about consuming it in that time. And I do. And for that, I'm like, super fun.
But it's a fun movie.
What a romp. It's such a fun movie.
It's about a con man.
No. It's such a fun movie. It's so fun. I wish that the con had gone on a little bit longer before we got into... I wanted to see him con a few more people.
Oh, yeah. It's an economical script. But again, the reason that it feels like... And my friend Louis once told me this. He's the one who told me the history of this movie. He's like, if it feels like there's a very tight 80-minute movie there with a few scenes that are fat for no reason, it's because it originally had an intro and an outro from the Crypt Keeper.
Oh.
And then when it lost that in the script, they were like, we need 30 more pages or 20 more pages or whatever. And that's why it feels a little off kilter.
Yeah, but definitely think Frighteners was super fun. Aside from that sort of like, ooh, I wish this was still like Lick the Knife kind of.
Lick the Knife killer. I love that. Great job, nerds. We did not watch, I think you mean Heavenly Creatures as Peter Jackson from the 90s. That's his transition movie. So like Heavenly Creatures is what gets him from Dead Alive to the Frighteners. That's what gets him Lord of the Rings, is proving himself to the studios like that. I really want to read y'all a snippet from... so Stephanie found these cool-ass movie magazines at Half Price Books that I hope I can find. Come on, baby. I'll find it. So she found these sweet... here we go. I found it.
I'm so fidgety. I keep sweater on, sweater off, sweater on, sweater off. Leg up, leg down.
So it's a magazine called Psychotronic. That's a Video Hound magazine from the 90s. This is an interview they did with Peter Jackson in 1992 after the release of Dead Alive. Here's the last paragraph of that interview. Currently, Jackson is mulling over some American movie offers, but doesn't seem eager to settle down in Hollywood. I've been to quite a few meetings in Los Angeles with people who are genuinely stupid. They've got this job, but they haven't got a creative brain in their head. Dealing with that sort of people on a regular basis would drive me crazy. It's hard enough being in a meeting with them for an hour. I guess what I'd really like to do is have a good American distribution deal for a film that I could make on a decent budget in New Zealand and have total control on. I have no rules. I'm happy to stay in New Zealand, and one day I'll come over to Hollywood and make a film, but it will be the right movie that I really want to do. I'm a terrible New Zealand accent, but...
I was going to say, we could have done without the accent, but...
Well, I wanted you to know that I was speaking as him. So that's why I did it. That's why the choice was made.
Great Job Nerd says not a bad PJ.
Well, thank you. See, his accent's a little... I know how he talks. I was trying. I think that's so amazing.
I think it's amazing.
That he...
He's like prophetic for his...
Yes! I just want to shoot something in New Zealand that America gives me money for. It's like, okay, but here is the greatest wish come true of all time.
Do you think he's a witch?
Which brings us to Wishmaster, a movie which stars Robert Englund, Kane Hodder, Tony Todd, and the Wishmaster himself. Tony Todd is Candyman, Kane Hodder is Jason, and Robert Englund, of course, is Freddy. This is so fun. This movie. It took me longer to warm up to it because it's late 90s, and I gotta say, I was feeling a little bit of that creeping bad CG effect energy, some of that Mortal Kombat energy coming in, but I liked it. You liked it a lot right away.
I did. I thought it was super fun. I was really into it. Where is it?
Which one? Oh, Wishmaster? Oh, shit.
Wishmaster?
Right here.
Let me see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, first of all, this art is really cool.
Yeah. Shout out Vestron. They've been doing a great job and suckering me in. This company, Vestron, they used to be known for VHS. They've been putting out horror, corny horror on DVD. And their packaging makes it so that you feel inclined and forced to buy every single one because they're numbered in uniform. And I both hate and love them for it.
So, Wishmaster, I don't know. I don't know why. There's something about, like, witches and, like, magic and stones and amulets,
Fantasy.
talismans, coins, ancient coins,
what is the something about them?
vessels in which
I also have a second question for you that I forgot to ask
demons
earlier.
live in. No, there's just something about, like, fantasy.
Yeah, what is it about fantasy and magic, and why is there let's do a woman's POV here. Is there a gendering, or at least a perceived gendering, of fantasy versus science fiction in the 90s? I'm not saying it exists organically in the 90s, though. Is there? Maybe that's a failed hypothesis.
I mean, there's probably something to explore there. I think, like, the 90s was, as we were discussing with movies like The Craft and just kind of across the board, that witchcraft was kind of coming back into the fold.
Which, sorry, can I cut you off real quick? Which, going on to...
Which?
Earlier I was saying, like, okay, earlier I was trying to set this spectrum as, like, my thesis for the week, that there was technophobia here, fear of the future and fear of the year 2000, and then over here is a religious fear of, like, the world ending, and in the middle is witches and wizards, because also when Harry Potter started in the 90s, witches and wizards, because there's both a pull to control technology that feels mythical and magical and to mythologize it, and there's also a desire to rebel. And then that harkens back to the 70s and the cult panic and Dungeons and Dragons panic. So the witchy part of the 90s, like you were saying, I almost feel like is its own, like, rebellion against the panic. Yeah. It's like a Wiccan identity, like the witch Willow on Buffy. Mm-hmm. It's etc. And the likable witch.
Yeah.
Sabrina.
Monterey Jacka. Yes. I feel like it sort of is the flip side of the coin of that, like, satanic panic, that cult.
That's what it is.
That cult panic, because, witchcraft has always been a way for women to feel empowered and in tune with their bodies and in tune with nature, the moon, menstruation, spells, manifestation, all of those things. And it's always been something that has threatened people who are conservative, religious, and men, because it's this
patriarchal.
Yeah, exactly. Which I would argue patriarchal is just the middle of the Venn diagram of conservative, religious.
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
A lot of them.
Really.
Yeah, but I feel like there is that threat of, like, the autonomy and the agency that comes with saying, like, I am of this earth. I can harness my power. I can use my energies, and I can, use it against you. But it also is a way, of, like, feeling in tune with those things. And yeah, I think I think that maybe that's the draw to fantasy as it relates to like witches and whatever else. And I do think that with the 90s in particular being, well, I mean, every era really is so image obsessed. But as we talk about technology and image and reflecting your own image in new and more invasive ways, maybe the resurgence of witches and witchcraft is not only the flip side of the coin to something like satanic panic, but it's also a way for women to take back some power.
Yeah, no, I 100% taking back power. You just made me think. Okay. Women taking back power through witchcraft and magic and the idea of it gendered versus technology. I happened to glance down and see this cover of Frankenhooker of him building this woman. As you were saying, like, taking back control, and I just thought, yes, like we've both said, like you've said, this fear of the world ending, Y2K, this fear of everything. So this technophobia, this fear that the future is uncertain, that we might lose our humanity to the machines. And I think in general that the ground is shrinking below our feet. The world is getting smaller. There are less unknown forests in the world. There are less unknown technologies, unknown sciences, alchemy. The ground of alchemy is shrinking. Can you transform lead to gold? No, you can't. We're proving you can't.
And also now we're just circling back. It's all cyclical. So we're circling back to the exact same thing now with all this uncertainty around technology and the earth and politics and future and whatever else. And, you know, lo and behold, tarot's huge, astrology is huge, witchcraft is huge, burning sage, having your crystals, charging your crystals, syncing up with the moon.
It's a way of taking control.
Exactly.
It's a way of saying, I understand this. I think this also can lead to dangerous things like conspiracy theories, but I want to also talk about apathy. I want to talk about the 90s and the idea that in the 90s, this shrinking ground of the world getting smaller, really technology, the internet, like the world is smaller. There are less corners. You see 90s movies and this idea that there's like knowledge that can be uncovered in a small unlocked box is almost quaint because we're like, can't we Google everything? And that is coming, but it's not here yet in the 90s. And women in movies are often using witchcraft, the craft, practical magic. And there's also a resurgence, and this is something that relates to technology. Men are painted, and I'm not saying this is how it is. This is how it was done in the movies, though, how it's painted. Women are often towards the magic. Even in Blair Witch 2, which is 2000, there's a very outspoken Wiccan character. Spends a lot of time talking directly to the camera about how she's misunderstood. We have Willow and Buffy. And then men...
And just goth characters in general.
Goth characters in general. And
like,
for men, it's the re-emergence, and this is my segue into the Resurrected, the re-emergence of the Frankenstein myth and of the mad scientist. Not only do we have Frankenhooker in 1990, which is literally about building your reality, which is a hearkening to digital, but also a way to preserve your control. And it's this breakdown sci-fi and fantasy. Women go to magic, men go to science. Science has typically been patriarchal and served men better, and they go to it. I mean, Lars von Trier's Antichrist explores that dynamic very well.
Yeah, you also don't really need an in.
Yes, you also
get into witchcraft and being of the earth.
You need to have a paid education and privilege to be into science, to be a scientist. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and this mad science also is what's going to lead us into the self-reflecting eye, because we see ourselves as the creator. What are you doing when you're cutting a film together if not assembling potentially dead things into a living thing? And the director can't help but see themselves as that, and that's where we get into this meta territory. But I just want to say, to call attention to your magic and women, you're right. It's taking back their power. they're doing it also on the level of being women in a patriarchal world. But everyone in the 90s is trying to take back their power because, y'all, it used to be that you, like, things felt real. You wrote things down. You understood where people's houses were. And now it feels as though everything is fake. Everything is simulated because our reality now is as it's perceived through others' eyes. And the 90s, I don't know if I was even aware of it at the time, but the 90s are the decade where that fear is manifesting. And so whether it's magic or filmmaking or mad science, and of course, what is film but a way to try and, what is film and what is witchcraft but a way and try to live forever? And what is mad science in this movie, which we're back to, but about a man trying to live forever?
Yeah.
Okay. So...
The Resurrected.
The Resurrected. What is film? Great shot, nerds.
What is it?
What is film?
What is film?
Well, Vinny, I recommend that you read both Andre Bazon's What is Cinema essay, as well as my own What is Digital Cinema essay.
Well, I think you should watch a movie.
What is it? I have to pee again. I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
Do you want to take another pee break?
No.
I'm sorry. I'm a terrible streamer.
Just get out of here.
I'm a bad streamer in here, but I'm a good streamer when I'm peeing.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Hey, I thought that was a pretty good, tag team on that thematic.
Yeah.
Coalescence. But whatever.
Coalescence.
But whatever.
The coalescence of the mind. That's one we've had on the list. Existence. Right? Isn't that existence? But he goes, it's like the game kind of moment where he's like, the coalescence of the mind, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, I see you. I'm here to, let's party. Right? Am I right? Is it existence? Is it not? Anybody know? Let me know, drop in the chat, let me know if you, have ever dabbled in witchcraft, just because I'm curious. We have been talking about this a lot, about how witchcraft and magic and how that relates to pop culture is cyclical and cyclically aligned with, clearly, obviously, this is how pop culture works, but what is popular and why witchcraft and astrology and herbology and all those things are popular and cyclically popular. But I'm excited to talk about The Resurrected. Now, this was one that I think Adam found, I believe, on a list of more obscure 90s horror movies. Definitely had never heard of this movie. Definitely had never seen it. Simply did not. What's on my shirt? Okay, so this shirt I actually bought in Iowa. The one time I went to Iowa at a little thrift store, and it says "Get Spooky," and it has a cat on it. And I got it because Vanine asked me what's on my shirt. And I got it because our cat's name is Spooky Puppy, and this kind of looks like Spooky, and it's just a fun, I love this oopy goopy text. Oopy goopy, get spooky.
Get spoopy.
Get spoopy.
Oh, spooky, he says. What is it?
I knew some witchy people in Austin. I know a lot of people that have moon ceremonies. A lot. Especially people in theater and comedy.
Yes.
Who love moon ceremonies. They love lighting fires and charging their crystals.
We all love rituals so much.
We do.
We just call it different things.
It's true. That's all it is. It's just rituals, and whatever it means to you is so personal. And manifestation is not. It's not like manifestation is just about like being mindful. That's all it is.
I mean, the moon, the sun comes up, the sun goes down every day. We're creatures of habit. We love rituals. We love
and film production, yeah, for sure.
And film production. Which is ritualistic in its own right. Well, The Resurrected. I
was just saying how you found this on a list of more slept on. And I'd never seen it, never heard of it.
I never heard of it either.
And neither had you. And we both went in not really knowing anything about it. I thought it was a real fun ride.
Me too.
Yeah.
Definitely, like Steph said earlier, you could tell that it was based on... This was something you said after we finished. Definitely could tell it was probably based on a shorter story. Definitely felt like a slow... I don't mind a slow burn. Parts of it felt like unnecessarily so. A point where it felt like a time-padding 70s movie. But by the time it hit the ending there...
worth the wait.
Worth the wait. And speaking of body horror, I feel like that's nothing in that is any worse than...
I know, but... And you know what? That freaks me out, too. It's weird because...
And the body horror in Wishmaster.
I know. I don't know what it is. I think it's about... I think it's more so body horror that feels like you're trapped.
I think that Henenlotter is aesthetic creeps you out. Henenlotter as a director has this weird world building ability wherever nothing is quite serious enough. That's spooky. Hi everybody out there in Twitchland. I'm Spooky the Cat. Bleh. I hold him. No, you can take him.
He's just gonna sit like this.
Okay, I'll take him.
Okay.
Ow!
So, right, what were you saying about body horror?
Oh, just that I think that Henenlotter makes his world so weirdly like unreal. They're like just off enough from reality that I feel like there's an added element of, maybe that's why I misused the word uncanny valley. It's just, it feels like you're looking at something that shouldn't quite be there.
I think that's really what it is. And it's also about the idea of being trapped in a consciousness where you can't escape from, where your body is like, it's weird because like zombie stuff doesn't really bother me in the same way because you're not really conscious. Because
you're dead. The you is dead.
Exactly.
You're talking about like Belial is like trapped. That's a fear of like, that's a fear of injury. That's a fear of disability. That's a fear of getting hurt in yourself.
Yeah, and I guess so. I'm not trying to be like ableist or anything.
I don't think you are being, and I didn't mean to phrase it in a way that accused you of that.
No. It's more so of like,
because
something that's unnatural. Like living in a basket.
Yes. Well, that's what I mean. It's not ableist. Like, certainly I think it is I don't think there's anything wrong with saying it is a rational fear for people with use of their legs to fear the loss of use of their legs. That is one existential thing, is the loss of control over your body. But when you horrify it and you take it and you put it just enough outside of reality that it shouldn't be there, it takes that innate fear of losing some ability and control over your body, and it dials it up just enough that it looks unreal and makes you deeply uncomfortable on an extra level.
Yes, and if you don't know,
I'm a control freak.
Which is why you like
Newsflash.
Which is why you like horoscopes and magic, because you're a control freak. And why I wish I knew something about science, because I am too. So many things to say. Shall we talk about Misery?
Let's talk about Misery, and then we can get into your
the Blair Witch territory.
Delve into your... But, I just want to say, this is kind of a slow burn. Like, there are some scenes where there definitely could have been cutaways, and they're just long. You're like, okay, no dialogue, just people walking down a ladder, just people climbing down a ladder.
I think I was the right amount of awake for it.
No, I think so too, but it is funny. You're like,
you're right.
Oh, okay. Oh, the next person's going down the ladder.
Oh, this movie is definitely, we were definitely making fun of it a little bit.
Oh, he's going down the ladder too. Now it's his turn. It's his turn to go down the ladder. Oh, they've all gone down the ladder. Okay, now we're going to light
no one's going to watch it after this description.
Okay, but that's kind of what
But then once you get down the ladder, you get into this nightmare hellscape of awesome practical effects.
Yes.
Once you get down there, you're in a fucking fun house.
And it's a sort of microcosm for the whole movie, that there are moments where you're like, oh, that person's climbing down the ladder. But yes, once you get down the ladder, you're like, ooh, that was worth it.
Yes. I loved it.
Yeah, it's real fun. And the acting is...
Chris Sarandon. Oh my goodness, Chris Sarandon.
Chris Kattan.
Chris Kattan.
Oh my God.
I love Chris Kattan. You know the story with Chris Kattan and Penelope Spheres?
I hope open Pandora's box.
You know why Chris Kattan doesn't have a career? It's because Lorne Michaels tried to get him to sleep with Penelope Spheres, the director of Decline of Western Civilization and Wayne's World, and he didn't want to because he was seeing someone, and they kind of like powered him. Like, that's what happened. He made enemies by not. Yes, Prince Humperdinck. Yes. Okay.
I'll let you take the
Misery?
Whoop. Oh, Misery, right. Misery. What's there to say about Misery that we don't already know? It whips.
It whips so hard. Also, it's hobbles.
So disturbing.
I think that the word that I would use to describe Misery, and I said this to you after we watched it, is blunt. Because not only is everything in it just straightforward and told very matter-of-factly, which makes the horror what it is that there's no something's hiding in the shadows. There's no what will happen. There's simply what is happening. Exactly. It's very Stephen King in how straightforward it is. And the other reason it's blunt is literally blunt trauma. There's not a sharp injury in the entire movie. There's a car crash. There's the hobbling scene. There's broken legs. It's all the results. There's a typewriter. It is all blunt force trauma the whole way. It is all bruises. It is never cuts. It is bruises and bone trauma.
Yeah, even when he tries to use the knife, no one ever uses the knife.
The knife fails. It's about that, and I think
sparkly water made me burp.
Me too. And the setting, the rural snowy setting, for me at least, as an Iowa kid, I don't know if this is the same for people who didn't grow up in familiar scenic snowiness, but there's a pain to getting hurt in the cold. There's a pain to the sharpness and the dryness of it. It makes the wound very obvious. It makes the wound very blunt. Frostbite itself is not a sharp pain. It is an aching pain that takes away in bruisey splotches. And it is the cold and the stubbing of your foot on ice, the slipping and falling hard on ice. Not a lot of sharpness in the winter, not a lot of sharpness at camp. Granted, axe injury, sure, but most of the time it's firewood landing on your thumb. It's a hammer when you're hammering something. I feel like this movie really dives into that fear of the primal, in a way, of the survivalist, of being in this. It's like snow and wood the whole way. Love this movie, and that was my big takeaway, is the bluntness.
Well, I also think it's interesting to kind of juxtapose that to what we were talking about last week and what we've been talking about all October on and off, about how a lot of violence and horror is, especially when it's men attacking women, it's done with a knife. It's invasive. It's entering the body.
Penetrative.
Yes, it's penetrating without consent, obviously, because they're murders. But it is interesting that this is, one of the better known films about a woman who is a murderous antagonist, and her weapon of choice is just, it's also, one, it's like, I'm doing this to take care of you.
One, it's the killer nurse passive aggression.
And
the
it's
dark
also
side
like
of
this
mothering.
Yeah, this manipulative sort of like, almost like come to me with, here's my Stockholm syndrome. It's in the form of a cookie. But
right.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about the fact that Kathy Bates in this movie is one of the better known like female, violent female antagonists, murderers, etc. And it's all done in ways that are not invasive, in ways that are outside of the body.
Which is, I would say, the appropriate, maybe we should have content warning this part, by the appropriate like analogous like control of sexual trauma is like the mother smothering. Like the outside of the body, it's like outside versus inside. It maps pretty closely to like biological sex in the roles as they are. Yeah. So there's that, and the trauma and the control. Damn, this convo is making skin crawl. I love it. Good. Okay. Can I dive into my master theory on Blair Witch? Can we talk about Blair Witch?
Yes.
It's not a master theory. I'm joking.
You can dive right in.
Okay, y'all. So, Blair Witch Project, 1999, the end of the decade. Now, this decade characterized by magic, by technology, fear of being subsumed, controlled, eradicated, replaced by technology, and the shrinking of the world of rationality, of concrete, of truth. Really, the world of truth. Okay, now I'm gonna get a little in the woods, arty farty here, so bear with me. But if we consider film, and I'm talking about film as in the strip of film, not movies, but film itself. If we consider a film a grabbing of the photons that hit an object, their emulsion onto a silver halide strip of plastic, and that is a shadow of something that existed. Okay, that is physical. That is a physical document of reality. When I watch a film strip or look at a photo that's on film, I am seeing the exposed photons that are a physical thing that bounced off of this person years ago and onto this. It's physical. Okay, so film is supposed to be reality. Now, when we hit the 90s and we hit our genre cycle, film starts to become aware of itself through genre. And we get things like Clerks. The reason I bring up Clerks is because it's a hugely successful movie, the most successful independent movie until Blair Witch Project. And Clerks is a movie about people who love movies talking about movies. Already we're crossed over, we're here, we have this worry that we're losing ground, that we're losing control, and I think as we've already talked about and covered, part of that stems from I'll use magic to control my reality, or I'll use technology, I'll use science to control my reality. Frankenstein, I will build my reality. The reemergence of the Frankenstein myth in a lot of things, hardware, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the Kenneth Branagh movie. As we see ourselves and as we build through, let me slow myself down. I catch myself. On the technological tip, we become afraid of that. We've seen those recurrent themes: fear of being penetrated or bruised or controlled by specifically technology, and the writer seeing themselves in their work more. So we know the 90s are meta. We know we're getting into postmodern territory. We know we get there through genre. By the time we get to Blair Witch Project in 1999, this was a fascinating rewatch. Most notably because this movie is shot on two different things. One is 16 millimeter film, and the other is digital video. And so not only are digital effects coming into the conversation in the 90s in a much bigger way, especially in 1991, the famous T2 walking through the bars scene. But digital effects creating this perceptual reality, this perceptual realism, that what we perceive is real because it looks real. And we're struggling with that. Film is struggling with that. How do we say that film is this thing that captures reality, where digital is this thing that's in computers that invents reality? Now we're merging the two. What does that mean? And Blair Witch couldn't be any more on the nose about it, with literally being shot on two things. The digital being the movie we're watching, called The Blair Witch Project, that is personal diary footage, and the 16 millimeter footage being their film, which is also called The Blair Witch Project, but is specifically Heather's film, and how she is drawn into it as artists are drawn to their work. So I need to slow myself down, catch my breath here. I want to consult my notes real quick.
And I'm just hanging back because we did not discuss Blair Witch after we watched it, and Adam compiled some thoughts.
I compiled some thoughts. Okay.
So I'm hearing this with y'all.
I think I would argue... Okay, there's so much going on here. Shit, oh my god. Okay. So...
You took a lot of notes.
I did take a lot of notes. Okay, so if we're talking about let's start with Frankenstein. We see a reemergence in that. And like we said, we have this technophobia, this worry about the future. We're trying to control it through magic or science. Or, what is the combination, I ask you, of magic and science? It's fucking movies. That's the combination of magic and science. And that is why we're in this meta world of the 90s, because we have finally turned the eye back. We take for granted that we have an art form that lets us document the visual progression of our world and watch it back. That is a miraculous, insane thing that 200 years ago would have gotten you accused of witchcraft, because it is magic. And it is also science. It is also chemistry that makes it work. And now engineering, electronics, programming as it's digital. So what happens in the Frankenstein myth? Who's the real bad guy in Frankenstein? It's the doctor. And that is exactly what Heather is. Heather is literally Frankensteining 16mm film and digital film together in this unholy thing that is the movie we see, that is supposed to be reality, that is backed up far before the age of fake news or spin doctoring on a fake website through a fake documentary, and that all serves to make the Blair Witch Project not a movie but a cultural object, not a story but something that is a part of our story, something that we believe is real, something that emotionally impacts us. And here's where I get into, here's where the director sees themselves in it and mythologizes themselves. Here is where I pull out my stupid chart.
I'm curious to see this chart, y'all.
Okay. So,
like I said, there are colors and shapes.
There are colors and shapes. Bear with me. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw it on this. Oops. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw it on this so that we can get there together, and then I'm going to show you the colored version so it makes more sense. Okay, so here's my theory, y'all. Here's my theory. First of all, we have the genre itself, okay? This is the genre. This is the genre looping back and starting to see itself. Here, this touch point right here, that is where the movie and the story become aware of their own existence. This is where technology sees itself, specifically in the realm of digital happening, and it understands its own function. Keeps going. Now it's meta. Now the author of that text, the director, also sees themselves in it. They see themselves reflected. They understand that not only is this genre aware that it's part of a genre movement, that there are other movies that exist that are like it, but I am shaping that. I'm creating this world. I'm the director. I'm the writer. I get to make this whatever I want. I have full malleability. And then that keeps going. This is where we end up with things like New Nightmare, adaptation, which is later, but New Nightmare, a lot of writer stories. I would argue Misery, Stephen King being autobiographical. And then here is where audience sees it. Now at this point, on the third go round, the audience is aware that they get to shape this. They get to form that. And what happens after the movie, the filmmaker and the audience are all aware of it? Well, this is completely transformed. So now it can do one of two things. It can either circle back and break and start a brand new genre and the cycle begins again, or it can go over here and it can become social media and video games. And it does both. So, here's a little better way of putting that. Here's the way I drew out earlier. If we start here, this is the genre existing, my yellow line. The genre comes here and it sees itself. We introduce this red line as well. The genre sees itself, it loops around, the author of the genre sees themselves, the audience, and then here we go off into either a new model of communication whatsoever, like social media or video gaming and interactivity, or we break the genre and we start fresh with something else. So, when the genre sees itself, that is introducing the concept of the camera being aware of the camera. When the author sees himself in it, the author realizes that they can influence it, and therefore the author, the director, the filmmaker becomes the genre too. And we have a lot of examples of this. When that director sees themselves reflected in the genre, how many names are synonymous with genre? That's auteur theory right there. There's the Tarantino movie. There's the Scorsese movie. Do we know what these movies look like? Like we know what a horror movie looks like? Of course we do, because it's the same thing. Then we loop back around. The audience is seeing themselves in it. We're participating. Our thoughts, especially now with the ability to tweet and actually change things, but our thoughts participate, and at that point we become a passive author of the text. We passively author how it happens, and then after that we hit the new model and we fully on interact with it. It's interactive, it's video gaming, it's social media, and at that point we are the author. So in Blair Witch Project 2, which is made in 2000, the year after Blair Witch Project, now the cultural artifact of Blair Witch has become the subject of a fake documentary on a real thing. And that is why the 2000s are such a messy fucking time.
And now we get to the true...
That is where we get into the insanity. And in Blair Witch 2, everyone gets a camera. Everyone decides what their reality is. And the biggest telling moment in all of this, and the reason that Blair Witch Project might be the last movie of the 20th century, and that Blair Witch Project 2 might be the first... That's wrong. It's a great example. The Matrix is the first movie of the 21st century. The reason that the Blair Witch Project might actually signal the end of the 90s is one moment in it where Josh says to Heather, and you pointed this out right after we watched it, I see why you like the camera. It's not quite reality. It's reality with a filter on it. And that, if that is not like someone telling the most accurate fortune of all time, I don't know what is. So Blair Witch Project 2, not a great movie, but as an example for how culture changed, how we're leading up to this moment through the 90s. And just to recap quickly, the genre is established. Say something like Halloween leads to Friday the 13th, leads to Scream. At Scream and at New Nightmare, the genre sees itself. At something like New Nightmare again, the author sees himself in it, and then the audience sees himself in what the author has made. We're all aware of each other, and we got a break. And if we are terrified, and what's driving us all towards this, towards magic, towards technology, and towards the combination of those, which is movies, towards this new millennium, then what happens when we get to the new millennium and we pat ourselves down and everything's still here and we're safe and we're not dead? Oh my God, we bow at the feet of that technology that we were terrified of, and we do lose ourselves to it. And that is what the 2000s are. We've been crawling our way back since. And all of us having cameras is a miracle that is also completely terrifying, because it means that now all of us constantly are spectator, author, and participant in our own version of an objective reality that used to be confined to 5 reels of 35mm film. And that is my TED Talk on the subject.
Well, Watch Out Wedge wants to know, will there be a PowerPoint available for download after the Zoom call? Great job, nerds. Vanit wants to know, when is the masterclass being offered? And it is absolutely a curse. I do agree. Y'all don't even want me to get into how I think it's a curse.
What's a curse?
The technology, like the
oh yeah, for sure.
Everyone having a camera in their pocket and having that being the author and the author and the consumer all at once.
Yeah, no wonder we are so lost.
Disgusting and confusing trifecta.
I love to think of digital film as the realm of the unreal, and film as the realm of the real. I think in theoretical terms, I've been successful in making that argument. I don't think that it actually is something that can be applied to real life. I think we're in the deep end now, baby. But it is still fascinating to see where we've come from, and I would argue that the 90s diagram our process pretty well. And horror movies diagram humanity's growth better than literally anything. Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I have done that to Will as well. I love you, Wedge. I'm also over it. And Will, I have definitely done that to Will. Been like, see you in the basement, and then go stand in the corner. Best horror movie about dangers of technology. I don't know if it's the best, but a movie called Pulse really scared me. It's Kairo. It's a Japanese movie. Pulse, 2005. Super scary movie about ghosts coming through our phones. Accomplished very well.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard you talk about it. And it sounds real scary.
It's real scary. It's like real scary, pretty much. So it's real scary.
Real scary.
Well, thanks for bearing with me venting, or venting, I guess. Ranting is the word I wanted.
No, it wasn't venting, nor was it ranting. I do believe it was a thoughtful deconstruction of genre theory throughout the rise and fall of the new millennia.
Thank you.
Not that it's fallen.
Came into this. Oh, we're falling. We came into this week with a lot of theories. I definitely came in packed with the hypothesis that we're going to see a lot of techno terror. There's plenty more out there we didn't even make it to. Brain Scan, Lawnmower Man. But what was your, Stephanie? I've talked enough. Thank you for giving me the space to get my rant out, because I did need to say it to understand it myself.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing that you saw this week? Let's do that. Let's recommend one thing from all the shit that we watched.
I gotta say, for me, it's a tie between Misery and Blair Witch Project. Both really iconic movies, and I had mentioned this last week. I'll just say it again. I also talked to Adam about this, but Blair Witch Project was a movie. Y'all have heard me talk way too much about how I didn't get into horror until I was in my late 20s.
No, they haven't. We're vibing.
We're vibing. But Blair Witch Project was a movie that was Travis Gaskill, I believe it was Travis Gaskill's party, and it was a co-ed party, and it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And he got his mom to rent Blair Witch Project and put it on in the TV that it was in his room, and we were all trying to watch it, and I really wanted to watch it, and I was like ready. I was like here, and then everyone started playing Spin the Bottle, 7 Minutes in Heaven, and it was Spin the Remote because we couldn't find a bottle.
Oh, where's the bottle?
And then we didn't have the remote, so I couldn't turn it up, and well, I guess I could have used the button on there, but there was like the circle.
I had to walk through people making out.
It was a whole thing. So that was my only experience, my only true, real experience watching the Blair Witch Project. So coming into it, kind of feeling like, I know enough about this through osmosis, and I kind of know the iconic scenes, and I have vague, yet, still visceral memories of certain parts of this movie, but never made it to the end. So.
Sorry. I was just going to say it's incredibly unique perspective that you haven't seen it until last night. So I just really
I loved it.
I want to hear.
I thought it was awesome. I loved it. I thought it scared the shit out of me. I love the ending. It's very in line with the types of stories that I liked to read and write. I love like a ambiguous kind of, chili bump moment.
A chili bump?
A chili bump, ambiguous chili bump moment.
Just imagine you snorting chili powder.
No, like tingly.
No, I know what you mean. Goosebump.
Yes.
Chili bump.
Well, copyright.
Copyright.
So we can't say goosebump on the stream.
I had a thing that you made me think of that I wanted to... Whatevsies, bro. I was going to look something up, but it'll come back to me later. I can't believe though that you didn't know anything about it. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it was thrilling to watch. I loved it. I highly recommend. I thought it was great because it's definitely a horror movie and definitely a scary movie, but they do it in a way that, you never see a villain. There's not really any practical effects. It's
the director of the movie. Can I go back?
Yeah.
The director of the movie, Heather, is the villain, and this is part of the Frankenstein thing. She's literally building a Frankenstein. She pushes everyone too far because she's disassociated from reality, because reality is subjective, and that's the warning that we do not heed as a culture. A Blair Witch Project, of her pushing this subjective reality, and then at a certain point, this is the other part of the graph. It's not just that everyone becomes self-aware and you can see backwards. That's the other part of my graph, is that everyone gets to see backwards. Audience gets to see director gets to see genre. It's not just that. It's that you become part of the story. Mm-hmm. So director pushing for her own reality becomes part of the myth. And the question I asked you last night is, if Heather, and this is the question I asked you, Vinny, who just watched it. If Heather... Thinking about this in terms of a director who is the villain, who allows herself to be part of the genre, and how we as an audience then see the movie Blair Witch Project, think it's real, and now we are part of the genre. Now we're part of the movie. And Blair Witch 2 just shatters that with a baseball bat and says, no, you're not. 2000s are here, motherfucker. Nothing makes sense. Then would Heather have lived, and this is theoretical, this is like, I'm not saying don't think plot-wise, I'm just saying, like, does this make sense to you? Did Heather seal her fate when she apologized? If she'd never taken responsibility for what she'd done wrong, would Heather have maintained her directorial control? Because I feel like she allows herself to become a part of the myth of the Blair Witch for us to consume at the moment that she says, I shouldn't have directed this.
I shouldn't have done this. It's my fault.
I shouldn't have made this story.
Yeah.
The story eats you then, baby.
Yeah, that movie's very scary. And it's also incredibly realistic in the way that it portrays people who are hungry and frustrated and fighting. So realistic, so stressful. You're like, oh my God, I know this feeling. I've seen this fight. Like
when Mike just starts going, this is bullshit.
Ooh, you can
so
feel
good.
that panic. You could feel it's so like intensely. Oof, you can like, yeah. And also, weirdly, it's super accurate in the way like a very, very indie 3-person film crew would operate.
Yeah.
Like, she is definitely like she's more of an AD and less of a director as well.
She reminds me of, and it's the famous shot that was permanently ruined for me by the Scary Movie parody of her apologizing, is what I was talking about. She's like, I'm sorry, it was my fault. Because until then, she's like, no. She says, I insisted that we go this way. I insisted we weren't lost.
And she says sorry to the families of.
Yeah, sorry to the moms.
The moms.
And
well, she says, and sorry, Mom, and then she goes, and Dad. It's like an afterthought.
It is very real. And then like the weird thing about it is like the second movie has lines like, well, you know what I don't get is like 2 guys and a girl on a camping trip. Why didn't they ever do it? Like the second movie is about the first movie as an artifact. It's so weird.
I just saw my face. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, boy.
Well, also just to say my tie is with Misery. Another one that I hadn't seen and had been meaning to watch for a very, very, very long time. Super scary. One of my favorite things about, well, the acting is just great across the board. Everyone in that movie is like, mwah, mwah. But Kathy Bates in particular, I mentioned this to you after we watched it, or maybe while we were watching it, but the way she plays sweet and caring in the first act before you, realize, we all know, but before she breaks and we see her true nature, she plays that sweetness so differently in Act 1 of the movie than she does after she's had that break where we see her true nature. It's so subtle, but it's so brilliant, and she's just incredible, and everyone in that movie is just a great actor, and that's all I have to say.
It's incredible. When we finally see her depressed is such a harrowing moment.
Oh, it's so scary.
Maybe I'll go put bullets in it.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
I know.
The Human Centipede franchise does the same thing. I need to watch those. I definitely...
That's another one for me that I'm like, nope.
No, I was a big nope on it too. I think I can handle it. I just thought it looked dumb, but I think I can. I think I should owe it a watch. Although doing the postmodern thing, it's like, well, it's been done now a lot. And the funny thing is the 90s is what got us there. She scared the ever-living shit out of me. Dude, me too. My grandparents let me watch this. I distinctly remember my mom venting that my grandparents let me watch this movie, from which I ran from the room scream crying when I was 7, but made me turn off Varsity Blues because it had nudity when I was 14.
Are you surprised?
Old people in Iowa. Wedge says they liked Human Centipede. I need to watch it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to hate on Human Centipede. I'm saying that's another one for me that's like...
Why are you coming to Human Centipede so hard?
It's another one for me that is the body horror thing that I just cannot. My brain existentially cannot process being trapped in that reality. I don't like it. I think
that's the horror.
I know. Yeah, I know. I don't like that. Type
Don't
of
watch
horror
Tusk.
Yeah, I know.
No, that body horror stuff freaks me out too.
It freaks me the fuck out. It just makes me. It's because I don't know. Because I think it's partially because I have such. I've always
Benita
had.
says your imagination is scarier. Better.
Well, yeah, and I think Human Centipede was boring as fuck here. Well, okay. I mean, that's fair. I just think that ever since I was, had like conscious thought, I've had horrible nightmares and night terrors on and off my whole life, and it's watching something combined with my imagination, combined with the way that I sleep and the way that I dream, it's just like a toxic.
Hey man, you gotta take care of yourself. You know, you gotta watch what you consume.
I gotta be like measured.
Thoughtful.
Like sometimes we have to take breaks.
That's okay.
Sometimes we have to take breaks.
That's okay. Well, I feel like I can put a pin in the 90s, feeling very good. Year 2 were Misery, and I gotta co-sign Misery, but I think that obviously Misery is awesome, and if you haven't watched it in a while, you'll have a great time rewatching it. But I think honestly, my biggest, if I'm gonna tie any two, it's gonna be People Under the Stairs, which we very much glossed over this week. A fantastic social commentary horror movie. Now, I know this is it's not a super appropriate comparison, but it felt like a proto-Parasite to me. If you haven't seen Parasite, don't look too deep into that. But if you have, you probably know what I'm talking about. Social commentary with a very literal metaphor at play. Frankenhooker really surprised me. I think Henenlotter is just such a treasure. And I really loved it. So those are mine.
And I didn't watch either one of those, so maybe I will try to.
Oh yeah, I think you in particular would love. I think honestly, People Under the Stairs would be harder for you to watch than Frankenhooker, but I think you'd love both of them.
See that?
People Under the Stairs. I mean, is there? I don't know if I've ever seen a more radical Hollywood movie of like a movie that is about like kill your evil white supremacist landlords. People Under the Stairs. It's just fucking hardcore, man. It's good. Okay, wow. We're almost at 3 hours, Stephanie.
We are. I had to take my braid down. Y'all have had a headache all day.
Oh, man, baby. You can't be doing this with a headache. Let's do a quick station ID. You have been watching You Are in a Video Store. We do this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. I am one of your two hosts, Adam Protextor.
And I am Stephanie Thoreson, your co-host and fellow video store employee.
We do this to create a digital space in which to talk about movies, hang out, and pretend we're in a video store.
Safe space.
So every week we do a what did you watch this week? We do a new arrivals. What did we get in stock this week? And then we do our movie club and our theme. So we just did movie club. We talked about Blair Witch Project. By the way, Vineet, I wanted to call out that you said in a text the chilling line of, are you going to write us a happy ending, Heather? And I love that call out. It's particularly tragic because it arrives at a point in the movie at which it would be impossible for Heather to write them a happy ending. It is after the director has surrendered, after we are sucked into the digital, into the fake. Or is it that the film is sucking us back? After all, the last shot in the movie is on the film camera. So is it... oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. The last shot is the film camera, right? Mm-hmm. So that is truly the story they want to tell. The myth, the power of the myth destroys them. Yeah. There you go. Yep. Well, there's more fuel to the fire of the hypothesis, baby. We do this every week, and then we decide on what our movie club pick is. Yeah. So I think, Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're gonna do holiday horror a week from now. But this week, no theme, just in general. Now we do have an election. We're gonna be having an election night on our next night. We're still streaming to help you take your mind off it. But if you want to talk about horror movies that are particularly political in nature throughout the years, bring them. Otherwise, I think we both agreed that a mental health week of just watch whatever's joyous for you is in good order. Mm-hmm. Like, if you need to watch Halloween, watch Halloween. Like, if you want to watch Monster Squad, Hocus Pocus. Basically, I guess our theme this week is you do you.
You do you.
Halloween, our Halloween favorites, you do you edition. Mm-hmm. What are we gonna make for the graphic? I don't know.
I don't know. That was probably bad. I shouldn't do that. But
I don't even know what you did.
I said Halloween.
Do it again. We're gonna clip it out.
Halloween. No, let's not.
So follow us on Instagram because there we'll be posting what we're gonna do now. Look, we want some ideas from you in the chat. I thought it might be fun if we do a you do you and then we just get the chat to give us, and then chat whatever movies you see or that you suggest that I see in the chat, I will add to my Instagram post about suggestions, and I'll say chat suggested favorites, and we'll add some of our own too. But like, what would you, if you had a friend who was like, I want to watch something fun for the Halloween season. Mm-hmm. What would you tell them to watch?
Yeah, really, we just want to like encourage everyone to, in the lead up to Halloween and the election, just what feels spooky or spoopy, what feels comforting, what feels exhilarating, what feels escapist, whatever floats your boat or your tiny paper boat that goes into a gutter. And I have to agree with
we all vote down here.
Yeah.
Come on.
Dude, Kate McKinnon's that was really good. Anyways. Yeah, I would say Holden Wook, that's true. The Real Horror is watching any news media next week. On that note, I do think we may, or I may, do a shorter stream next week. I don't know if that's going to be both of us. I might just pop in, say hey, talk about what we watched.
I like to watch the election results and be there, but I want to be here too. Movies like we've demonstrated tonight, I would say, and demonstrate literally anytime we talk about them with anybody ever, frame our reality and help us cope. So I do want to keep this space. I respect if I can totally pilot. Oh yeah, Wedge, I feel you. Holden Wook, I love Ernest, but I do have this fear, Wedge. I do remember we watched Goes to Camp later and thought certain parts of it, like the ants on the fingers, were silly. But yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to plant that seed just in case something happens. And you know what also is really special and important and escapist is having places like this that are safe spaces and spaces where we can talk about art and say hey to each other and have, you know, meaningful and interesting discourse and you know, calm discourse. And you know, I'll be honest that I have been extremely emotional the last 48 hours and I almost didn't do the stream, but it's nice to come to this space and see you all in the chat, and I hope it's nice for you to be able to come here and hang out with us a little bit and talk about art and talk about how that relates to politics and our identity and the current moment and, you know, cycles of history and all sorts of things. So I just want to put that out there.
It's all connected.
Just to, you know, be real.
I really appreciate you being that vulnerable on the stream. This also feels like a very healthy space for me, and I really appreciate all y'all for being here and cultivating this space together.
Yeah, it's a group effort.
It is.
Speaking of group effort,
E.T. is greatest horror movies. I love it. E.T. is a perfect movie. It's been a nice break. Thank you for it is for us as well. Now, what are y'all? We'll put E.T. on the list. Whatever. What other? Ernest Scared Stupid. We'll put that on the list. Is there anything that you would recommend to a friend who was like, I want to watch something scary this week? I haven't seen a movie ever. Yeah. What would you tell them to watch?
Say maybe don't start with a scary movie.
No, start with it. It'll show you the limits of cinema.
Cinema with an S.
Le cinema. We're not so no theme. Do you want to do staff picks?
Yeah, let's do staff picks.
Yeah, what you got for staff pick? Event Horizon, that's good. I might watch that this week.
Staff pick. I think I went first last week, and I hadn't really thought about my staff pick. So if you have one in mind,
I know what mine are.
Yeah, you go for it.
Okay, my staff pick is. Well, now I'm second guessing myself. No, don't second guess it. Vineet, this is dedicated to you.
Oh.
My staff pick is Possession.
This one goes out to Vineet in the chat.
Where did you watch it? Vineet? Because I'm so jealous y'all get to watch that together. Where did you watch it? Is it streaming? I for sure missed the what I watched. Hobgoblins from '87. That's fun. I like that movie. That's a silly little movie. Monster Brawl, The Traveler from 3010. Those two I've not heard of.
Ooh, yeah. Fun.
Interesting. Hobgoblins. We got Ernest Scared Stupid.
Shout out to Beyond Video Baltimore.
So you rented it. Okay. I wonder if it is streaming. It is a masterpiece that I would encourage pretty much everyone to watch. 2010.
The Thing. We've been meaning to
Oh, The
rewatch
Traveler
that,
from 2010.
New Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, 1408. Will, I watched that movie because of you. It is fantastic. The Thing, that's a great pick. E.T. These are good. So again, follow us on Instagram. We'll be dropping that. My staff pick is Possession. 1981, Andrzej Zulawski, Polish horror movie starring Sam Neill about a relationship imploding. It is wonderful.
I am just looking behind you to.
Wonderful is probably not the best word. And by the way, just to cap this out, we're right now, if you're just joining us, we are setting our movie club picks and our staff picks. Movie club pick, this is also something we can decide on in the chat, y'all. Basically, the theme for the week is just going to be Halloween favorites. It's very open-ended. Give y'all a catch-all, give us a catch-all, so we can have a break from studying. The first week we did werewolf movies. Second week we did slasher movies. This most recent, we wrapped up with 90s movies and Blair Witch Project, ending the conversation. So moving forward, just fun. And then a week later, we're gonna be back with holiday horror, and we got we're ordering a few, and we got a lot of good shit coming up for that. We're curating for that week.
I got really distracted just now because and if you were in the chat last week and you remember what my my choices were that I put on hold, I am blanking. Vineet, I think we had a little chat about it, a chat about it. And Pathos, I don't know if you brought or if you read that breakdown of
Monster Brawl,
but it sounds awesome. I got very distracted. I was, to be totally honest, not paying attention for about the last 3 minutes.
Don't even trip, dog. Basically, I was just filling in anyone who happened to be tuning in late. Mortal Kombat, separate in any way. I don't think there's a correlation.
What was I? Oh boy.
Stat picks.
Do you remember?
Well, Steph, you got a stat pick, but we also have a movie club pick. So if there is a Halloween favorite that could be our movie club pick, what could it be? What could be our movie club pick that we all watch and that we all get to talk about?
You'd stir that around too.
I'm stirring it around. I'm taking a pee break because I just have to.
Now, one of the nice things about having so many movies in our house is that I can just, while y'all think about what you might want the movie club pick to be, I can just get up and peruse here because I know it's on the wall. I know something on the wall will trigger my brain. Okay, come on. What was it? What was it? Was it over here? Maybe it's over here. Let's see.
left-handed looking through the shelf.
I am.
That's a good one.
We talked about it.
That's a good one.
Wait, I talked to people about it.
Ooh, movie club pick. No. I'm not hating at all. I just thought it was adorable, and also you picked up a watcher while doing that.
I know.
Well, don't let me interrupt.
Well, I don't.
Do you want to look at the list of movies we've watched recently? Would that help you?
No, this was on my list for sure, and this is Mario Bava, or is it Bava? Is that how you say it?
You're correct. Yes.
But what we were talking about last week, Vinny, was doing a Dario Argento double feature.
That's correct, Mundo. Why don't we pick an Argento movie?
I think that's great. In that case, if that's cool with everyone in the chat, this might be my staff pick because I think it's really rad. And
Blood and Black, so often credited as the first Giallo, tied in perfectly to our slasher combo last week. Sure. Blood and Black Lace is your pick? Mm-hmm. Such a cool movie. You know, I watched that for the first time with you. Had a great time.
It's so good.
Well, shit. Do you want to... Okay, first of all, Suspiria and Suspiria. I thought you were just joking and saying that you liked... I see what you're saying.
It was Suspiria and something else.
Suspiria and Opera, or Suspiria and Deep Red?
No.
Stage Fright? Demons?
Stage Fright?
Hellraiser is Pathos' suggestion. Hellraiser is fun. I really like Hellbound, Hellraiser 2 as well. Are the movies arranged alphabetically by genre? Okay, so full disclosure, here's what's going on here. I never was the kind of person who thought that it was appropriate to shelve my movies by distributor. It felt weird. But about 80% of the movie collection is in boxes right now in Iowa at my parents' house because we are downsizing and need to move soon. So what you see on the shelf behind us are organized by type. They're special collections. Basically made the decision when having limited shelf space to go aesthetically. So they're not really by genre. They kind of are. There's a few little country genre sections, but then there's also like Arrow, Criterion, VHS, etc. That's it's touch and go.
Well, it's horror VHS.
And horror VHS over here for sure.
Which is like a lot of what you have acquired in quarantine.
Which
is why we had to kind of smush some of the spaces. Well, you don't have as much out on the shelf.
Oh, no, you're right.
You kind of drastically rearranged instead of alphabetically or by genre or both. You started drastically rearranging when you started getting a lot of VHS.
Is the horror VHS that you're right.
And it sort of started encroaching on other parts, and then you were like, I just have to do something that makes more sense.
Yeah, so a lot of it's in boxes right now. I know where they are. Yeah, it's a good system too.
That's very cool.
I love Suspiria. I mean, I'm not against Suspiria being our movie club pick. We just watched it before Halloween season. Mm-hmm. So maybe...
I'd be down for Opera.
Yeah.
I'd be down for Hellraiser. Never seen it.
I'd be down for the remake of Suspiria.
I'd also be down for New Nightmare.
New Nightmare. That's fun. But we just finished 90's, I feel like. No, we can keep going.
I'm like, any ideas in the chat?
Well, we've gotten some support for both Suspirias from Wedge and from Vinny. Will hasn't seen either Suspiria.
Ooh, that might be the
watching the remake, which I haven't seen, might be fun.
I haven't either.
Or we could go Resident Evil franchise. I love the first Resident Evil movie, I gotta say. I'm just gonna be writing these down though.
Let's just call franchises franchise from now on. What's the other cutesy word I came up with for this stream?
Not really cutesy, but knife licking evil.
Oh, knife licking.
Yeah, the first one is so great. Okay, so y'all, even if we don't land on, I'm writing them down. Even if we don't land on them for movie club, I'm gonna put them in my Instagram post for chat and like I don't know what to call y'all. Crowd suggested vibe. Monster Hunter, Paul W.S. Anderson Marathon, Resident Evil, and Event Horizon. We could make Event Horizon our pick. That is a fun one. Or Suspiria, or the remake of Suspiria. What are we feeling? We got a few here. And for me, what's like a oh my goodness.
Oh.
Bless myself, I will say.
Bless you.
I will say it out loud.
Gremlins 2, do it. Make it Gremlins 3.
Gremlins 2 is the best movie.
That was your staff pick last week.
Gremlins 2 was my staff pick last week. Mm-hmm. It was my staff pick last week,
Mine
y'all.
was Popcorn. Did anyone watch Gremlins 2 or Popcorn?
Yeah, did anyone watch Gremlins 2 or Popcorn? Those were our staff picks last week. Or no, mine was Crawl Space, but the week before that it was
oh, right.
Gremlins 2, which is my favorite sequel.
And mine is Sister Act 2.
Sister Act 2 and Gremlins. Oh my god, that's too true. Too cute. Okay, y'all. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to look up scariest horror movies.
Whoa.
And we're going to...
casting a wide net there, huh?
Yeah, we are. We're Googling it. We're going to see what the algorithm thinks. No, this program is actually kind of anti that. The first result on Google when you search scariest horror movies is The New Mutants.
Okay.
The Descent. I did not like The Descent. I was a little bummed out by the third act, I gotta say. That's just me. Look, I know everyone really liked The Descent. I felt like I was cheating on all of my friends. Seriously. I just wasn't that afraid of it, and I was a little annoyed by the design, and I don't know why, and it's nothing against the movie, just wasn't for me. What about the Halloween remake from 2018?
Ooh, I like that idea because we started delving into the Halloween movies last year.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the remake.
Have y'all seen Halloween 2018? I have not. I'm really excited about that. I'm probably gonna watch it this week regardless. This Google search is terrible.
Yeah.
Let's see
what
what
we could have all predicted that.
Esquire says. The Witch, The Descent, Suspiria, Deliverance. I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, I don't like these lists. I really want to watch that. Holden Book already wants to watch it. We were huge Halloween fans. Why don't we make our movie club pick Halloween 2018? None of, like, it sounds like the people who have seen it.
Week. Let's watch Halloween.
Wedge said, haven't seen it, but know it's good. The Neat said, it's great. Will wants to watch it. I want to watch it. You want to watch it. Let's do it. Okay, great. Great, Wedge. Agree. Let's do it. Okay, Halloween 2018 will be our... Okay, so to recap, and again, this will all be on Instagram. Halloween 2018 will be our movie club pick. My staff pick is Possession, which I think is on Prime. Vineet rented. We'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. Let me see. I'm gonna look it up now. And Stephanie,
my staff pick is Blood and Black Lace.
Hell yeah.
And I promise next week won't be a take a shot every time I touch my hair kind of week. I've been extra fidgety. Anyone else extra fidgety?
It's a weird time, man. It's a weird time for fidgets.
I'm like, where's my pen? Look, I ripped up like Halloween confetti with my tangerine skin into tiny little squares.
My tangerine. Pathos said that 2018 Halloween was the last movie he saw in theaters. Now that's scary.
What was the last movie you saw in theaters?
Bad Boys 3.
Nice.
With Ryan Darbone.
Nice.
What about you?
I saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire by myself.
Nice. Awesome. Well, hey, y'all. Wow. What a night. Wow.
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 Wow. Wow. What a stream we had.
These streams go by pretty fast,
they
I gotta
do.
say.
We talked about some movies you'd watched. We talked about Borat 2 a lot.
We did. That was a good 25 minutes.
We took a look at some
Very
new
nice.
stuff, including Scare Package. Check out Fright Rags for Scare Package merchandise. Stephanie's in it. Mm-hmm. And y'all were kind enough to let me go off on a 15-minute talk about the self-reflexive nature of media in the 90s and how it got us to where we are today with us all having cameras in our pockets. And finally, we've landed here. Stephanie, thank you for being here as always. The show has only gotten better since you've joined.
Oh, well, thank you for encouraging me to join the stream permanently and share my perspective. And thank y'all for welcoming me in to the fold.
Thank you to everyone in the chat for being here. Subscribe to UltraLoop if you're not already. You get our notifications. Otherwise, catch us here on Tuesdays. We will be here next week, even though it's an election night. And do you have any final words?
Please vote. I don't know where everyone is, but Friday is the last day for early voting in Texas. Please vote. Get involved locally in any way you can, because that's where a lot of actual change can happen if you really like. I mean, yes, these big elections are important. Obviously, this one is probably the most important one that's ever happened. I would remove the word probably from that sentence. Anyways, yeah, get involved with your local government. Stay informed. Vote. Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Vote Black Lives Matter. Donate to abortion providers if you can.
Yes.
That too. And
do some research on Roe v. Wade and how the right wing and corporations co-opted that as a way to control women and black people, frankly, because they were running out of. It really started with anti-segregationists, and really they took advantage of religious people. And there's this great political cartoon with a little carrot that's Roe v. Wade, and the horse is Republicans and Christians, and then on the wagon is corporations, GOP, Republican politicians.
It's all about control.
Sorry.
Well, thank you for taking us out on
so anyways, we're gonna watch Halloween 2018, and we're gonna watch comfort movies and have like lots of fun, and I'm gonna go have a hot tea and a good cry.
We all love you. And yes, support choice, support abortion organizations, vote Black Lives Matter. And I gotta say this to y'all. It might hurt to hear, but real talk,